top of the morning to you, and welcome to Good Talk with me, Simon Ohler. I'm your host, and in Good Talk, I speak to interesting people about their lives, their transformations, and the insights that they have to share. And then, of course, about everything else that we get into and that we get lost in on the way. That's it. Just a damn good talk. And today, I'm speaking to Chris Hana. Chris is the CEO of the Esports Observer, the leading publication on the business of esports globally. It's a great kind of online newspaper, very professional, no fluff, just straight up business, numbers, very analytical. You can check that out under esportsobserver.com without the. And you can find Chris at Herr Hana, Herrhana. Chris also holds a position at the larger group that the Esports Observer got acquired by. So he's also the Senior Director of Digital Strategy and Esports at the Leaders Group, where he creates content, among other things, a podcast, which is called Conquering Geek Culture, where he interviews people from the wider gaming scene and industry. So, for example, he's interviewed the founders of Riot Games. He's interviewed Gary Vee. And he's most recently, at the time of recording this episode, interviewed Fatality, one of the first professional gamers who also built a huge business out of it. So you can listen to that at Conquering Geek Culture on all podcast platforms. But of course, after you've listened to this good talk. I like Chris because he's a very straightforward guy. Tells you like it is, and but despite his kind of fiery nature, he's also somebody who likes to develop, and he has worked and is working hard on being a patient person and being soft and empathetic, which we end up talking about. He says he sucks at it. I think he's not so bad at it, and I really admire that he is trying to become bigger like that. So that's why I really like Chris. And if we can really talk about everything. So we talk about esports and the industry in the beginning. Oh yeah, and one thing I forgot why I like Chris. I like him. He tells the story in this podcast about how he is still a fanboy of his old heroes like Fatality. So he still kind of couldn't believe that he really interviewed this guy, and at some point went drinking with him and all that. And I think that's so admirable to stay a fan and stay a kid and stay young in that way. So that's why I like Chris. And then we talk a lot about kind of esports and stats and all the things that Chris cares about. And if you just want to listen to that, you will get a really good insight from a great esports professional. And then we talk about his biography, how he got a job in gaming, in esports, and the way he went through, which certainly wasn't an easy one, to get there. And I'm very grateful that he shared so much deep insight and personal insight in this episode. We also talk about coaching, how people grow, how to stay young, and then lots of philosophy stuff and stuff that Chris considers spiritual and esoteric, which I find perfectly normal. So it's a great mix. And I enjoyed it a lot. So I hope you enjoyed too. Before we get into the episode, I have a very quick request for you. You know how the game goes, trying to build something here. If at some point in this video you're like, damn, that is a good talk, please consider subscribing to the channel on which you're listening. That could be YouTube, that could be the podcast app you're listening on, so you get notified when I release something new. You can also like or whatever. And of course, I love hearing from you. If you want to suggest a guest or you want to, say something, what you think or something that inspired you, please leave a comment. I'm also happy to read, and I'm happy to reply if I feel so inclined. So now, without any further ado and self-marketing, please enjoy today's episode of Good Talk with Chris Hana and me. Have fun. Mr. Hana, welcome to the show.
Mr. Ohler, thanks for having me. Welcome to the Simon Ohler show.
Yeah.
with your host, Simon
Yeah.
Ohler.
I hope we're gonna have a good talk.
We will. Two Germans speaking English.
Yes, very funny. Haha. Yes, English.
Haha, yes, let's go.
Yes. First day of Corona. Return of the virus.
Yeah.
I thought the first movie was a lot better. Have you already seen the second one?
I'm in the second one now.
Oh,
I'm starring at home.
Oh yeah, you're in it.
Yeah, it's crazy shit. Specifically, if you look at how people in Berlin don't seem to give a shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What do you see and how do you feel about that?
I see a lot of people outside. Not at least I perceive them as not caring. How do I feel about that? I don't think that's cool. Because I don't think it's necessarily about you, but about other people. So wear your mask. Don't hang out with people if you don't have to. Screw parties. Like, if we would have just not had a couple of parties, who knows if we would be where we are right now. But
Fair-
yeah,
fair
it is
point.
what it is.
It is what it is.
Have you been at parties? Were you one of these like wild party animals when you were
No.
not supposed to go to parties?
No, I'm living a very secluded life in my flat here with my girl, and we see some people. I think last like in Corona part 1, we were just moving when everything hit, so we didn't really. Well, we had to do what we had to do, right? We were actually moving with friends on the day where there was an announcement that you're not allowed to move with friends. It was pretty funny, but yeah. So and then I'm not like I don't have to be around people all the time. I have like a select group of friends that I see. I needed some help from a friend with like building stuff in my flat, and I think if you keep your connections to a like single digit number type of thing, like a select group of people that you count as family or something, then for me that was fine. But no,
And
no
it's not
parties.
that I didn't see people. It's more like, as you said, I try to not see everyone really, and I try not to see everyone in one place. And I mean, working in esports, as you can imagine, no travel. So except for some short trips within Germany, I've not been traveling since March, I think, which is crazy. If you think
Crazy.
about, if you think about how much we typically travel or used to travel, like it's a couple of months not traveling at all. It feels weird. And someone recently said this to me. So a person said like he did not expect to miss airports, and I can feel that. It's not that I really miss airports, but it's like the feeling of being there and traveling. It's kind of there's a void inside me now.
Yeah, I mean, the travel has a big romanticism about it, and I think a lot of people in esports have that romanticism too. It's just part of the day to day, and then a lot of people have a lot of their connections on the web, and it's just a special occasion every time, and a social occasion that people get really used to be out and meet people.
Like so I meet people everywhere I go, really, and you have a couple of like friends, and friends in an American kind of sense. So there's so many people that you can meet in every country you go to, and you have dinners and you hang out, and I really like that. I kind of miss that, to be honest. It's not that I travel for that reason, but if you look at work, so we work a lot with the States, and it's weird if you have parts of your team in a different country and you can't even go there, and you made hires that you've never met in person. There's a couple of things to it. I don't miss traveling for the sake of traveling, because it's actually quite nice. I have more time to cook. I have time to do all my sports regime. So I feel like good personally, in a sense of mental health and physical health. Like I'm actually quite good. It's more that the job completely changed in the way you perform it, and that in conversations, like if we have a Zoom call, there's no informal agenda. Like you talk about business, you have an agenda, you tick off the items, and that's it. Whereas if you go to events or hang out with people, Did you hear whatever like Peter did? Oh yeah, haha, did you hear what happened here? And look at this, and oh, have you heard about that deal? And, like all the informal stuff, that's kind of gone. Yeah, it's different.
And there's a big necessity for the informal stuff because it's like the equivalent of, like, let's say, the hallway in a company, the coffee machine where the chatter happens. And esports is an industry where chatter has a lot of impact because I don't know why. Why is it like that?
Dude, my job is to know stuff.
Yeah.
So I need to talk to people a lot. And I still do that, and I still get my information. It's just become weird. And it's different than, if I meet you somewhere in person, it's a different thing than doing this, like Zoom calls, phone calls all the time, like all that stuff. Or text messages. Like people text stuff, I feel like I'm not sure you're supposed to text this.
Probably not. What's your talk to me a little bit about, or let's talk a little bit about your job at the Esports Observer. How have things changed for you? Maybe you can describe it in a little bit more detail, and also more. I mean, happy to hear stuff about it in general. I mean, the Corona conversation you probably have thousands of times, but maybe we can find some intricate details, and then I think we can also go around over like kind of the idea of esports in Corona and so on. So feel free to start where you
Well,
want to.
technically my job didn't change so much as in, what the job is, because we're having a kind of good time when it comes to news, because now that people are at home and so much is changing, people still want information. So if you look at that, we're doing quite well, right? So we see increase in traffic, we see increase in interest. So we're working a lot with Sports Business Journal. Esports basically became the new sport when sport was at a full stop. So that kind of worked out in an esports sense. It's tough on the events business for sure, but other than that, like my job technically didn't change. Personal contact changed because I used to travel way more and meet people in person. That physical events changed, and that's where you meet all the people and you get all the like informal information from. So that's kind of like the way I do my job changed. My like everything else is kind of going as usual. I do a lot of content now, so I started a podcast here, do a show there. So I really take time. Like I just wrote something today that's going to be published. So I'm just creating way more content and get my thoughts out in different ways. So let's see where that ends up. Like I'm building products, really. That's kind of what it is.
Makes sense. And what did you write today? If you can tease it a little bit, it will probably be released before this gets released. So what are you thinking about?
It's really, really basic. So what I did is I had this conversation with Jonathan Wendell, Fatality.
Yeah.
And I just loved how he talks about common sense and all the stuff he did. Like when he built Fatality into a gaming brand, and the way he talks about it, like he just did what he kind of needed. So he was a professional gamer. There was no kind of gaming brand back in the days, like we're talking 20 years back, And then he basically talked about how he built he took like printer pads, where people put printers on, and he used them as mouse pads because mouse pads used to be super small and tiny rectangle kind of thingies. And the material worked for him. So that allowed him to play better because, he could just follow his opponents longer with a mouse, or he could leave the mouse on the mouse mat without like picking it up, moving it all the time. And he turned that into a product. It's a long story. Listen to the podcast. It's awesome.
Where can people listen to it that want to listen to that?
Sportsbusinessjournal.com, and then SBJ Radio, or just search for Conquering Geek Culture, and you'll find it on Apple, Spotify, like wherever you listen.
Perfect, and that's the latest episode with Jonathan Wendell, Fatality.
That's the 10th one. So, but what I wrote about is what he actually did, but on a more abstract level. So know your customer base. So how did he know what he needed, right? And it's easy for him because he was a consumer of his own kind of products. So that's why he built them, because they were non-existent. And then it's about keep it simple. You go into a store, and he talked about how he went to a store, looked at motherboards, and you have this, AB15Z, and B12 X whatever, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, how am I supposed to buy this if I don't even understand this? Why can't there just be fatality, entry level, professional, and champion or something? And so I just really wrote some of these kind of lessons down because I liked how he talked about it and how he just considered it like, oh, this is common sense. And I agree it is. But then I see so many integrations where I feel like, that's off. Like and personal experience, you do. So when you work for a team and you have a hardware manufacturer as a partner, they're typically really proud of, their features. So they come in like, oh yeah, but promote this one feature. It's like, yeah, but nobody really cares. Or it's like, yeah, people care about what it does, but not what it's called. So, if I go in and say, hey, Simon, do you know that, I don't know, there's this specific technology in your screen and it does this and this, like, whatever, just
Big
let people be
whatever.
authentic. Yeah, like find people who use your product and let them authentically promote your product. And that's the one thing that sometimes annoys me a bit when I look at how people advertise in esports, because I think a lot of brands leave money on the table by just forcing their language and forcing their kind of terms and whatever their lingo on people that just don't speak like that. So I don't know. Yeah, that's what I worry about. Like super short piece, then tying back into the podcast so people can listen to the full thing, because I really think there's some insights in it.
I think they're great insights. I think a lot about language. I'm a big language guy, and I think a lot of people just speak weird languages with that they're just in their own head. It's like Germans when they meet let's say a French person and they can't communicate at all, and then the Germans just say the German thing louder.
Yeah. Yeah, but if I say it louder, you have to understand it.
Louder and slower. It's like
Yeah.
Das gibt es bei uns nicht. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that happens a lot. You mentioned that.
Go to Instagram and just check out, people you admire and they use tech, and then all of a sudden you see them, I don't know, with a mouse or RAM or whatever it is, and they're like, oh, this is the blah 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 blah. It allows me to game faster, and the technology XYZ gives me, the competitive edge. And you're like, what the fuck? You never talk like this. This is forced on you, and it's like, I ignore it because it's so obvious advertisement that I'm like, yeah, it's cool that you do this. I appreciate people giving you money, but I know it's just advertisement. Whereas if you say, look, I bought this, it's amazing, computer runs, it's like, okay, cool. And the next time I think about it, it might come to my head.
I mean, or you just chat some funny shit. Like, I mean, so many pro gamers and whatever are trolls. And, I think Carlos does it really well of G2. He just like relentlessly, I mean, he's the branding mastermind, I feel like, and he just relentlessly like connects his like arrogant, over the top personal brand with what he does. Ah, look, I'm sponsored by BMW. I've got this BMW now. I'm gonna just drive it. It's just this like, you just have to not give a fuck, basically. And
so what's the microphone you're using right now?
SM7B by Shure.
See, that is pretty good sound quality. Maybe you should buy more. And if you're listening to Simon right now and you like the way his voice sounds, maybe you should just buy the product. Native integration.
Just,
See?
Can
we get paid? Can we get paid by Shure now?
We can ask them.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. Maybe. I think they have a pretty good dominance over the podcast market. I would be surprised. They probably don't sponsor many people, do they? Or do they?
I don't know.
Anyway, you said that esports is like you mentioned it in passing, but I feel like it's a pretty big thing, It's like, okay, esports is the sport now. And that really happened, right? I remember in Corona 1, there was like I saw like many posts, by people who were like, yo, I don't know, maybe they were like fake LinkedIn posts, but anyway, these stories. My 3-year-old, but no, like basically there was a bunch of esports on like TV, right? When like other shit couldn't take place, and then it was actually like people showing their dads and so on esports, and they were like forced to watch it, and then they were like, this seems okay, and so it was like, maybe you can talk a little bit about what happened and what it means.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's how I think about it. And this specifically ties to like sim racing, I guess, or like racing simulations, right? Because when the NASCAR was gone and they simulated the races, people were watching this. And like, to be honest, if you sit, at your couch or on your couch and you watch it, like you can't tell the difference, right? I mean, it looks really good. It looks authentic. They're kind of sitting in their simulators. That's super nice. But that's just a substitute because NASCAR is not online. So if the real, in quotes, NASCAR is going to come back, I don't think that people would still watch simulated
No way,
racing.
right?
Yeah, and like what happened to FIFA? Like, did people watch more FIFA? Like, I don't know. Do people watch more Madden? Like, I don't know. If you look at League of Legends, it was not that all of a sudden, parents were watching League of Legends because they still can't understand the game. And yeah, maybe it broke into more mainstream. Like esports overall, people accepted, okay, there's gaming and it's kind of big. But I think the people that watched all of the virtual sports, I think is what Nielsen calls it. So they break it into virtual sports. So they had this category. I think that most people that watched this during a time where there was no sport will now just default back to their sport, and I don't think that the viewership is there to stay. So while it was cool, I don't think it's gonna last forever. There might be more people now that watch it, yes, but I don't think it's gonna be a major breakthrough and all of a sudden, like, I don't know, sim racing is like the next big thing because like didn't happen.
I know you as a guy, it's been kind of your thing that you are very conservative, just like you were now when it comes to esports numbers. I think you do it out of love for the thing, because I believe there were a lot of people, companies, institutions, let's say, that have this tendency, to make their own pie a little bit bigger by just writing bigger numbers on the board. How do you feel about that, and what's your current take?
So there's two things. Number one is I think people make it bigger. So it depends on who I am, right? If I want to sell it to you, I can make it super big. So you're like, oh yeah, I want to get in. I need to get involved. So that's why people blow up a lot of numbers all the time. You look at viewership stats. There's inflation in viewership, and it's done by. I mean, look at videos, right? You have an autoplay, and all of a sudden it's a view, but it's not a view. It fucking annoys me. I immediately press the stop button, but it's counted as a view, right? Like, or you have like even streams that were just embedded almost as in ads. So all of a sudden you had like these crazy numbers because people were watching your stream, but it was shown in some kind of frame somewhere on the side, like whatever. So that's not sustainable. Then you look at numbers like look at Newzoo, and we're working with Newzoo, and I know that a lot of people like bash Newzoo all the time. I honestly don't understand why, because they create their numbers. They've been really smart in pushing out their 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers to everyone, so people talk about it all the time. The challenge I have is that people don't take the time to really look at what's in the numbers. Nobody looks at the methodology like, okay, so if you say the esports market is forecasted at whatever 1 billion, what's included? And they have the little footnotes. So you can actually find out. But that would be work. And people don't like that. So what, well, that's too general. But a lot of people don't like that. So when I see a lot of pitch decks, people take the free Newzoo graphs. If they're really smart, they put different colors on and pretend it's kind of their stuff, put Newzoo in the footnote somewhere. But they don't understand what's in these numbers. So if you ask them like, okay, can you tell me what's inside? Like, the answer often is like, oh no, what do you mean? Like, so are investments inside? What's in there? Like, if we look at revenues, is publisher revenue in there? Like, you ask these kind of questions that you can tell that people don't know, but they use them and walk around and say esports is whatever, the next biggest thing ever. And I believe that we're getting there. So I believe that gaming, and we can talk about gaming and esports and the difference, but I think that like gaming and esports will be like gaming anyway is going to be massive. Esports is going to be really, really big and one of the biggest forms of entertainment, like I'm sure. It's just that we're not there yet. And, like you got to be honest and don't just overpromise all the time. And I know that sucks because people want it to be super big right now. They want to make all the money right now. They want to build companies and sell companies. Everyone in esports is like a CEO. It's a one-person company, but I'm a CEO of something. I'm VP. Well, dude, you're the second employee, yeah, right? But you're VP of something. That kind of stuff. And that's an kind of ego thing often, I feel. And that kind of sucks. That's, I think if you look at so two questions, like Um, and I have to laugh because I had to answer them myself, and I really felt bad about it. But typically, what you can ask is, so okay, how many people and how much revenue? And then you kind of understand, I'm a CEO. Okay, how many people? One. How much revenue? Well, $5. And that's it. So you can assess that already. And then that helps you kind of assess not how healthy a company is, but what we're really talking about. And a lot of these startups are just one-man armies, which I think is great. It's more like they run around and pretend, they have everyone is the best, the biggest, the leading, the world's, I don't know, most something, the only one. And it's like you read it's the same PR shit. Like you read it in every press release. And I feel like I see why you're doing this, but I don't know. Let your actions speak.
For sure. So what's your take? I mean, you just said let your actions speak. What's your take on real quick, like how do you do the stats right? And then you breached the other topic, which is like personal branding or company branding, which for people who are just one person is the same.
Yeah.
What's your take? How do you do these two things right
I
in
think
esports?
just be honest. Like let me just tell you what we're talking about, right? So okay, we're talking about this company. Here's some numbers. Like just bring the real numbers. Like understand the shit you're talking about. And if you say, take esports, we're talking about esports, but then it's like talking about sports. I want to invest in esports. Yeah, cool. Like, what do you want to do? Technology? Like, you want to do tech? Like, you want to do athlete development? It's like when I say I want to invest in sports, like, okay, which sport, Like swimming in Russia, like American baseball. There's such a bandwidth in all that stuff. And I think people need to make clear what they're talking about. So that's number one. And then, find numbers that support what you're saying. And a lot of stuff is not there yet. That's why we always use esports as a bucket. Then we start to compare esports with, I don't know, the NBA. And I've talked about this a billion times. So, so I don't even really like talking about it, but it's like we're comparing a whole industry globally, to one league in one sport in one country. And then we can't even get that right most of the time. So that's like, it just sounds bigger. Yeah, sucks.
And what do you say to the founders who are, trying to do their best in this wild, wild west and want to stand out from the crowd? I don't know why both these things rhymed, but I guess that's how I roll. How do I brand myself, my company with, trying to stand out without resorting to shitty PR lingo, like the best, the mostest?
You can use PR lingo. It's more like, do shit. Like just get shit done. Like do shit. Like so everyone talks about stuff. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and then we're this, we will be that. Like just go and do it. Like, and if you've done it, then let people talk about it. Or you can talk about, look what we've done. But it's like, so I really try this hard, and I can't always do this, but I try not to talk about stuff I'm gonna do. I really often like to talk about stuff that I kind of did, and then have people assess it and adjust. But it's super tough because everyone is gonna do everything. But what have you actually done? Can you get your ass up and really do the shit? Like, can you really hustle to get stuff done, or are you just talking about what you're gonna do in the future? And then half of it you're not gonna do anyway. So there is people, and there's also people that just do a lot of stuff. They don't talk about it, but people talk about them, because they've done great stuff. And then that works like recommendation, like, oh, you need to be on the Simon Ohler show because it's fantastic, I heard. And but
I've heard the same.
I see, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like,
Yeah, no,
do
for
stuff.
sure. Yeah,
and I think
for
it's
sure.
like action, like do stuff and then see what happens.
Yeah, man. And I guess quick comment from my side. I mean, you know where I'm coming from, and we can talk about. I want to talk about your story in a moment, but I've been on a big break now, trying to figure just the thing out. Probably you've been guilty of. I'm gonna do. I've said to you many times, I'm gonna do something. Here we are after all these years. But I also think it's really important to find out whether you're actually currently in the place of doing something. And if you're not, you don't have to talk a talk. You don't have to be someone right now that you're not. Like and I feel like many people also think that now is the only time to do something in esports. And so I don't know, I feel like this time component this is just me personally, is so overvalued oftentimes, where people are like, oh, we have to do something now. And if you are, of course, if you are already doing something, you can do it. But if you're starting up and you feel the need that, you're going to miss the train, I think most of the time that's not true. It's much better if you go silent, if you have the time anyway, you're not scraping around for your fuckbucks, like you call them. Take 3 months and really meditate on what the fuck you want to do, and then go and talk and have come in the state where you have negotiated with yourself what you're going to do and that you're actually down to do it.
I mean, who are you telling that you're gonna do all that stuff? Why are you talking about this? And don't get me wrong, like, you can be ballsy and say, I'm gonna build the biggest, I don't know, company in that space, right? If you work for this and you do this and people can actually see that you're moving into that direction, that's kind of fine. But often it's to just be relevant and impress people, maybe, I don't know. Like, just be like, oh, I'm going to do this, and here's all the shit I'm going to do, and then I'm going to do this and that. So people are like, oh, wow, crazy. It's like, why? And I think that the most important thing is being in a happy place. And I know this sounds so, I don't know, spiritual or bullshitty, but it's just
I'm
real.
cool with it. We're cool with
real.
This. Yeah,
no,
on
it's
the show,
and
yeah.
trust me, it's real. Like, I think, if you find the thing you love and you do that, like, for work, you're never going to work again. Yeah, that's true. You still have shitty days. Like, there is no all smiles and sunshine. You will always have a shitty day. But if you find something you really care about, it's a different kind of work, and it's a different kind of how you approach your day. So, it's like, just go and do it. And if you really love it, do it. But don't try to impress people. Maybe sometimes people just need to start caring a little bit less about what others think about them. That makes sense. And just be happy, and then go and do whatever makes you happy. Unless you hurt people or do other crazy shit. Let's, like, within some boundaries, go and do whatever you want to do.
Straight talk. I appreciate that. I want to talk a bit about who you are and where you're from and what makes you who you are. And I thought we could just start at the beginning. And I'm very curious, where did you grow up? How was your upbringing? And who are your parents?
So it was 1982.
A dark night, I presume.
It was a dark night.
A stormy night.
Well, no, I don't know. Maybe I need to check. No, but that's actually the year. I want to say it all happened, and that might be true because I'm born in December, so it was a year and it started a little bit earlier. No, like, dude, that's a tough question. Born and raised in Germany, for a long time, lived in a city called Duisburg. You probably know this.
I was there once for ESL.
Ruhrgebiet, like coal miners kind of area, more or less, like, hardworking, working class kind of stuff. My dad died pretty early, so I have brother and a sister, 2 siblings. So my mom raised all 3 of us, and she's a real hero. Like, we're talking about MVPs. She's the MVP.
The real
MVP. And I recently had the conversation with her where I feel like, I get to do all the cool shit and I get to do all the fun stuff, but she's the MVP, because she couldn't do what she wanted to do. Like, she had to raise like 3 kids, and she had to do it while she still had to work, and there was like all that stuff. Like, talking about juggling all the shit in life. Like, yeah, that's what I need to look at, and then I can kind of assess the situation I'm in and be happy. Like, be more happy about, okay, cool. This is where I am. I can be really happy with everything. Because that's a good reality check. But that's kind of what I did. Went to school, was a nerd, was a different person, looked very differently. Didn't like, it's hard to say, did you get picked on? I don't know. It's like, I have been the nerd, I've been the gamer all the time. So you had friends that were gaming too, but then probably to a lot of people, like, I was not the cool kid. Let me put it like this. I was never been the cool kid. Just like the regular guy. I think my mom pretty early on engraved values in me. Like, hey, here's if you believe in this, that's fine. Like, make sure, don't be an asshole, like these kind of stuff. But that really stuck
can you
with
be
me.
specific? What were her values?
Don't be an asshole. Like, be a nice person. Help others. Like, don't be a dick. Like, that's not how she said it, but that's really, it's like the basic stuff. Like, be respectful with people. Don't judge people just
That's a
because.
big one.
Yeah, no. I still do this. Like we all do, right? I think we're all guilty though. But that's some stuff that I really carried with me, and I'm actually pretty happy. And I think, not in a crazy way, but I think that she really said, like, hey, believe in you and do whatever you want to do. School, give an example, like school, shitty grades. It's not that, I know a lot of people, the parents went mad when you get like your shitty grade in French. Like, I brought that home and she's like, dude, if that's your life, if you don't like that, you probably shouldn't do this, right? And then find something else. Or now you really have to pull through this, right? So I know it's shit, but just put yourself together and just do this stuff, and then it's over. So it's never been about, oh, you need to have the best grades. It's more like, okay, look, if you fuck up in school, it's going to be a problem for you later. So really rational. It's not, and not even in a way that she didn't care, but in a way that she really made me understand the responsibility of the whole thing. So I felt like, okay, you know what, I hate it, but I'm still going to do it, and then I'm going to see what happens. And that's kind of what it's a kind of golden thread through all the stuff I did, more or less. Took my A levels, like Abitur, and then went into a job because I felt like, oh yeah, I want to go and study, but before I do that, I want to do my apprenticeship.
Can I ask you something before we go into
Always.
that? I have two questions. I'm gonna start with the maybe harder one, and if it's like too insensitive, just let's skip over it. But I'm curious because I grew up without a dad for the most part since age 4. I think because my parents separated and then I didn't see him at all, so it was a hard cut. And I know my dad today, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But yeah, just out of personal curiosity, how was growing up without a dad for you?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I've thought about this, but since I never grew up with a dad and can compare to growing up without a dad, like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's just my life. To me, it's just me growing up. It's not that I'm missing anything, because I don't know what I'm lacking, So like, it's not that I feel like, oh, I really missed, I don't know, playing football with my dad, because I didn't. I just didn't have it, and I never did it. So I can't really compare it to being raised with a dad or being raised without a dad. And my parents separated, before my dad died as well. So that's all. It's not like super happy family, and then this stuff happens. Like, there's a lot to this. But I can't really tell, because I just don't know.
Okay, fair enough. I thought a lot about it. That's why I'm asking. I thought a lot about,
So what did you like? How was it for you? Like, did you miss anything? Is there anything that you felt like you're really lacking?
Yeah, I felt a lot of lack in myself, so to speak. Like, I was always, I always had, or for a long time, I had a kind of a, how do you say that? I always wanted a lot, and then I always had a hard time making that real, and like, behaving in the way that that would have maybe achieve what I want. So that's a big kind of problem in my life that I've read a lot of, but I read a lot of self-improvement, and I kind of thought, but also that also highlighted that a lot. So I can't even say for sure whether maybe your answer is like perfectly fine. I actually admire it. It's like I just don't know. It's not my life. I don't know. I just always felt this imbalance in my house through only growing up with my mom, and then never having it's difficult, as you know, you have this well, I don't know if your mom had a partner or not. Mine had a little bit, but it also didn't really work out. And then I felt there was always this space that was needed but couldn't be used, like somebody for my mom to confide in, somebody who could take the pressure off, to like open the pressure valve sometimes, and like it gets let out, like good relationships work, I think. And so I felt like a lot of that pressure kind of came down to me. I guess that's the bottom line of that feeling.
You felt it came down to you, or it came down to you?
Well, you know,
I know we're getting really like we're
yeah.
getting really deep into this.
I'm cool with that. If you're cool with that,
I don't mind.
I mean, yeah, like I felt pressure, that I thought about this a lot, and it seems like that just wasn't mine. And now I'm trying a lot to unwind myself from that. Sometimes I have thoughts and feelings, and I'm just like, oh, they're just not mine. They're like, they belong to somebody else. It's not. This is not my burden to bear. I can like relax. So I still have that feeling to today, and for me, I connected with that. So, but what do I know? Maybe that's just yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Fair enough.
It's reality, though. Like, it's your reality. It's
Yeah.
what happens in your life, and whatever I don't know, however you perceive it, it's your reality. So
that's very true. That's very true. And you mentioned, I think you mentioned one word in the end, and I connected a lot with you. And you mentioned what you said about your mom, responsibility. And I feel like you're really, like, it's a really big trait of you. You're just a responsible person. You take a task, you get it done. What do you feel the same way? What does that mean for you?
Dude, like that's Spider-Man, right? With great power comes great responsibility. I think that I don't know. I think that even, okay, it's a tough one. I need to find the angle while I talk about it.
Sure.
No, I think that,
So
responsibility is like, I mean, you have all these responsibilities all the time, right? And I can talk about Chris now. So if we talk about running a business, right, then you have responsibility for people, and it's people that kind of follow you for something. And we're gonna get into all of this, but then you have people that, they have kids, they have their families, they have their kind of obligations, and like you're responsible for all of that. And it's so we can talk about leadership maybe. Let's get this kind of tangible. So when you talk about leadership, people always talk about, oh yeah, I'm leading people, whatever. And so the thing that I carried with me for the recent years really is like, you need to be able like to lead yourself, right? So you need to deal with yourself, and
that's kind of what I was talking about. What I sometimes have trouble with. Yeah. So just for reference.
But then also, like, you have to be led. Being led is the same importance, right? Like, can you be led by other people? Like, because you always will have people that kind of lead you or point you in a direction, and then you have the third component, which is leading others. So if I look at leadership, like the leadership concept, and I learned that at business school, which is still true though for me, is there's these kind of 3 levels to it. And if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead other people. If you can't be led, like, you can't lead other people. Like, I believe that. So there's a lot to who are you, what do you stand for, and it's almost like branding, but it's in a different way, right? It's like, so what do you really burn for? Like, who are you? Like, what's your core value? What's your mission? And you can even do this as legacy. Like, if Simon would disappear from the world tomorrow, what do you want people to say about you? Right? So what's the legacy you want to leave? And I kind of once said, and it feels so weird, but I once said, hey, if I can make life better. I was stuck in a shitty job at one point. Not shitty, but it was not my thing, and I got really unhappy, and I didn't realize. So I got into this kind of spiral, and I felt like, if I can just make the world better for one employee or something, right? I built something, and the person goes to work with a smile. Like, that makes a difference. And for me, it's like really making a difference in other people's life. I want people to be happy, and I couldn't achieve that for a really long time because I was not happy myself, right? So if I don't lead myself, how can I lead others?
There you go.
That's what I mean, right? So I've been super unhappy. You know, I got stuck. I felt stuck. I felt like this is not for me. Like, how do I solve this? And you know, I've been really lucky in meeting the right people. Got to say that too. And like my game changer really was like my MBA, because it was a lot about personal development, and I got a completely different perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah. Let's
And
get it.
I still have that.
Yeah. Let's get it. Let's follow the thread then. You said you wanted to take a job before you went off to study.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to have a, you know, responsible, the safe way, you know, German, being German, like have a plan B.
There you go.
I wanted to have a kind of, you know, abgeschlossene Ausbildung. Like I wanted to have my apprenticeship before I go and study, because what if I fail? Ooh,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, that's what it was.
Of course.
So I did my apprenticeship in IT. So I'm in system integration. So I'm an IT professional.
Nice.
IT specialist for system integration. That's what I learned.
So you could never complain when you came back home and somebody needed computer help. Like you could never be the person like, oh, you know how everybody complains about that their parents need computer help? You were actually a professional for that.
People came to me to fix their problems, which is annoying at one point, because people brought people that complained. It's not just that you do it for your own circle, but you started doing it for wider circles.
Yeah.
And it was still work, so it sucked at one point, you know. But yeah, but then so I did that, and then I moved. So you know, it was fun. Like I met cool people. I met a person, Peter, who basically took me kind of under his wing. Like it taught me a lot of stuff, you know, business and all that stuff. Like today, I look at this in a really different way than I used to look at it, like when I did it. And we're talking like what, 2000 something, like early, when I was like really young. Well, 18, 19. But the thing is, what happened is, I kind of liked the environment. I kind of liked, you know, the job. And then I started doing a little bit project management. And then I did more project management, and I kind of got stuck with the company for almost 10 years. And I, you know, like at the peak, I ran programs for like, I don't know, software standardization, hardware standardization across like 20 plus countries, you know, and kind of managed communication and some of the other things. So while I was doing that, I already noticed that there is a lack of, I don't know, business acumen maybe. Like I understood what people did, but I didn't understand the theories behind that. So I wanted to learn all of this. So I did a bachelor in international management, and I did that Friday nights and Saturdays, so I could do this while I was working. 3.5 years, you know, then graduated from that and felt like, okay, that's cool. So now I kind of get more of the stuff I'm actually doing, because the beauty of it was that if I would have done the same course before I was working, I probably wouldn't have understood most of the concepts.
Big one.
Well, I would have understood them, but I couldn't apply them. So now I'm in an environment where I had to apply all this stuff, right? Or I had to practically work. And now, like, I learned stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool. Let me apply this to the company I'm working in. Oh, that's what they're doing. Interesting, you know. So I could really use the stuff I was doing. So that turned out really well for me, I gotta say. Like,
that's so
lucky.
Cool.
Well, yeah, I'm happy about it, really. But that's kind of luck, right? Because for the wrong reasons, because I didn't want to go to study. What if I fail? Ooh. But then, you know, that kind of worked out for me. I paid for this myself. That was important to me, because then I had the obligation and the responsibility towards myself to go there.
There you go.
Because it was Friday nights and fucking Saturdays.
Yeah, you could have done something else as a young professional, right?
Yep. So I felt like, you know, if I pay for this myself, like I will not chill, you know. I will really do this, and I really want to get this done.
Quick 2 questions. What was the company you were working in at the time? And
Vodafone.
And you did your apprenticeship at Vodafone as well?
Yep.
That was Vodafone.
Yep.
That's right. Okay, yeah.
Vodafone.
Because I knew about the Vodafone story, and I was wondering if that was already Vodafone or maybe something else.
Yeah, no, first job, got stuck there 10 years almost. Vodafone.
And so how many years into the job did you start the studies, roughly?
I don't know, man. Like a couple of years in.
Okay. And that wasn't your MBA yet, right? That comes later?
No. That came after.
Right.
Obviously, because it's a master, you got to do the bachelor first.
Big logic.
Bam! Here we go.
Got me there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's when I got hungry, It's like, okay, did all that stuff, then got hungry for more. And like a long story, really, really short. And we can talk about the little things that really left the impact. But
Please.
long story short, I wanted to do an MBA. No, I wanted to do a master. And then back in the day, my old boss said, hey, you know what? Go look at WHU. Otto Beisam School of Management, like private business school in Germany, one of the best. And I say this because I believe this, and it's actually true. And so I didn't have them on my radar. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can do part-time studies. Did it before, I do that on the weekend. Fine. And you had to go through like assessment, like proper assessment center style. Like you had to do interviews and stuff. And I remember, I will not forget this ever. I remember going there, and so there's this person sitting, and I'm not sure if I should drop names here or not, but I still remember the person really well. And he looked at my CV, he looked at me, we started talking for a little while, and then he looked at me and said, like, so here's an issue, your CV says you're in IT, and you're a project manager, and he basically gave me the summary of my CV. But then the person sitting here is clearly sales and communication, and like there's a mismatch somewhere. So that's kind of along the lines.
He just like cold read you like
yeah,
that.
like yeah, I didn't know at the time, man. Like honestly, I was like, what the fuck, what's going on? And then he kind of started, so we started talking more, and that was a really good discussion. But what happened is,
so this was quick question. This was a good person, yeah. This ends up as a good person.
No, this was a really good person.
Okay, well then please drop a name if you feel like it, because it's
always
important.
So what the person said to me is, I cannot admit you to the study program. And I'm like, wow, why? He's like, I cannot admit you to the study program unless you promise that you'll switch jobs after you're done. And I'm like, wow.
Wow, big wow.
And yeah, but I like, honestly, man, I didn't like back in the time, and this is funny. Look, all the stuff we're talking about now is, all the good stuff, great story, great golden thread, and party on. But imagine being me at the time. Like, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I'm like, okay, this is really weird. This is like, why does the person know me so well? Sort of, right? And I had to think about a lot of stuff. So now I know he knew me, but back then I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Like, let me just complete the story. So what happened is, I felt like, yeah, why not? I really want to do this. Had a lot to think about. But when it was time to do it, my employer back then said they're not going to support the study. So I had to pay for this myself. And I was like, it's kind of expensive. For where I came from, it was kind of a lot of expensive. So at the time,
how much is it to pay an MBA like that?
Was it like 25, 35 grand or so for the study? Yeah. And then you had to, but then there's modules in China, India, in the US. You got to pay for your flights. And then you can't work. So, and we're talking full time now, right? So you can't work because you're full time studying, and you still have to live. You still have to have a flat, and all that kind of stuff. And why full time? Because what happened is I then kind of struck a deal and said, look, there's all these organizational changes going on. You want to get kind of rid of some people. I can find another job. So why don't you pay me and I leave? All right. So that's what happened. And I took the money and paid for my study program and asked him, hey, can I do this instead of doing this next to my job, like part-time, can I do this full-time? Yeah, that was cool. So that's what I did. And that was a moment where I was so fucking afraid to leave a job like this after 10 years.
Yeah.
And go to study again. And, it's like, holy shit, how does one even study? Like, it's like, I have to learn. It's like, I felt like, and it's so weird, but I felt like so out of the loop with academics and all of that stuff, even though I did the bachelor. I'm like, I have no idea. Like, how do I even learn to learn? Like, and then we go back to, what if I fail? That kind of stuff. And that was tough. And it sounds so easy, like, oh yeah, and then I quit my job and went to study. Like, fuck me, that was a hard decision, and that really stuck with me.
Do you remember how you went through that decision? Like, how did you keep yourself sane? How did you make it at all? Did you write everything down? Did you do pro and con? Did you do psychedelics to look for the answers? What did you do?
No, I was kind of unhappy. I got this outside feedback, and I really wanted to do this. Like, I really felt like since, I looked at the school and I looked at all of that stuff, I felt like I want to do this. Fun part is I wanted to do this to go into consulting, McKinsey, BCG, that kind of stuff. And, WHU is a good university as a stepping stone to do that. So I felt like I'm going to do this, and then I'm, going to start my consulting career. That's what happened, So that's how it kind of all started. The rest, my brain deleted all the shit stuff, and now it's just like this golden story.
Yeah,
it's great. It's like
it's
just the good stuff.
Easy and fantastic, and you were just like, yeah, no problem. Swoop.
Yeah, no, easy. I'm just gonna do this, and I'm just gonna go there, and it's gonna be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's chapter one. That's chapter one of my life. So I closed the chapter and I opened a new chapter.
Yeah. 10 years at Vodafone, and one study, and number two, broke the Vodafone streak. And then did the guy, whoever it was, did he did he still ask you, like, make you make that promise? And did you keep it?
Well, I mean, I kept it because I left and I went full-time study, so stuff changed slightly. And we had a few exchanges afterwards, and I really need to text him again now that we talk about it.
So did he remain like a strong mentor for you? I don't know if you've...
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Not at all.
He was
not
just
at all.
Like...
But it's But he kind of initiated a process, really.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure if he knows. Like I don't even know if he knows what he did. I told him once, like, look, here's what I'm doing right now, and he's like, okay, cool, that's decent,
Yeah.
But and I think he knows because he is a kind of coach, and he does that stuff. But I'm not sure if he really, I don't know, back in the days knew what he's kind of starting. But maybe he did, and maybe that's why he did it. It's like he was right though.
Did. I mean, if you talk to a kid like you were then, and you're like, yo, in this one conversation, like, you got to change your shit up. Like,
dude, I didn't know the guy. Like, it's like I did not know the guy. First conversation ever, and he's like, bam, 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 and I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
That's like this coach magic / bullshit where they're just like, can see you're on the wrong track, boy, and you're like, you don't know me. What are you talking about? But
train's moving, dude. But it's like, it's the wrong track, obviously.
Yeah. Cool. Let's just continue. How was that, and the MBA, and what happened after?
I mean, MBA, life changer. Like, life changer, game changer. I told that story so many times. I always feel it's boring. I'm still gonna tell you.
Thank you.
Of course, it's just a great story. It's like no problems. Everything like worked out, start to finish, no problems at all. No, a lot of coaching. So the MBA, like, the program is amazing. Like the professors you get, like the kind of materials you get, it's all like case study learning. It's great. Like, we're placed in groups. You hate some people, you love some people, but you should have conflicts, because you will have conflicts in life. So deal with it. Amazing, and I say this, amazing program. I will recommend this to everyone, like, who needs advice. Like, it's maybe there's better stuff. Like, I don't know. Go back to my dad. Like, I don't know, but that's the best thing that ever happened to me professionally, because the academia, like, the knowledge was amazing. What was the actual game changer though is the like personal growth modules, if you want to call them like this. So there's a lot of leadership principles. There's a lot of, responsibility, like and then we go back to who are you? What do you stand for? And you have all these exercises, where you kind of get your own kind of core values set straight. So you kind of understand better who you are, and you have a lot of talks. There's a lot of coaches coming in. So you talk to coaches. And that really changed it for me. Because what that did, and, we can go into some specific situations, but what this eventually did is it kind of told me, like, I'm just going to go and do what I really want to do. And I always played video games, and I never considered it a career path because, like, who would have thought that you can make money with esports? So it's, I don't know. That's what kind of changed it. And I said, like, I'm going to give me a year or two and just try to break into the industry. So that's fast forward. And that's what I did then. And it wasn't that easy either. But that's kind of where I figured out who I really am and what I really want. And that's That's a game changer. Like it really is.
Can you tell me who the Chris Hana was who went into the NBA and who is the one who came out of it? And maybe like you just alluded to, give like one or two cornerstone stories that changed whatever changed.
So I had a coach from New York, and what he told me all the time is like, "Hey, Chris, you have to embrace uncertainty." And I don't know, yeah, whatever, dude. Like I really love the guy, but it's like no. So the Chris Hana that went into the NBA could not embrace uncertainty. Project manager, program manager. Oh, I need to have a plan A, B, C, D, whatever.
Control.
Yes, uncertainty. No way. There's no way there can be uncertainty. Oh my God, there's too much stuff uncertain. I cannot live with it. That's the Chris Hana that went into the NBA. Now, dude, I don't know what's gonna happen next year, but we'll figure it out. Like, you know what I mean?
Certainly will. Yeah, we will.
It's what it is, man. Like you don't know. Like nobody's seen COVID coming. Nobody's seen any of that stuff coming. Nobody's seen me breaking into esports. Like I just, know who you are, know what you kind of want to do. Don't be an asshole, and then figure out the rest. Like I do have some long-term planning for myself. I know what I kind of want, but like I think there's different ways to get there. And what I learned is, there's so much you can't control. Focus on what you can control, and change that kind of stuff. But don't get hung up too much on things that you have no impact on.
So certainty, uncertainty, control.
And that's really like the one sentence I can even really realize how I changed, because I really remember like John Carrick, the guy telling me all the time, like, "Oh, you have to embrace uncertainty, Chris." I'm like, yeah, of course I will. Not. And it took me like a long time. And then there's like, so, and I recently put this on LinkedIn. You can find this still on LinkedIn. I had this one encounter in India. Subroto Bakshi, co-founder of a company called Mindtree, massive company in India and globally outsourcing, and author of books. And so I had to talk to him. I said, "Oh, I think I want to go into gaming, but I, don't know if I want to take the risk." And he looked at me, he's like, "What risk?" And I'm, "What do you mean?" And then we had this talk about. He's like, "Look, what's the worst thing that can happen to you? Like, you fail in quotes." And he didn't say fail. I'm just gonna, say that way. But then you fail, and then you live in your mom's basement. Well, that's not so bad. It's like that's bad for you personally, probably, but it's not really bad, And he's like, "Look at the guy selling fruit outside on the street. He doesn't sell fruit. He can't bring home money, to provide for his family. That's a risk." So we talked about risk and what an actual risk is. And then he drew this napkin, like this matrix. And that's something like I don't have it here, so I can't show you, but it's on LinkedIn. It's a screenshot. So it's a 4-quadrant matrix, and it talks about competence and love. Are you competent at something, and do you love what you do? You don't love it, you're not competent. You don't love it. Like, get out of this. It's not going to work out anyway. Are you really, really competent, but you don't love what you do? You'll end up in the lower quadrant, right? Like you'll end up in a shit situation where you don't love what you do anymore at one point. And you will become less competent. And then there's, do you really love it, but you're not competent? You can learn, and he called it pay the price. So he's like, "Look, you can learn this. You probably got to take a job that doesn't pay as much as you wish for initially. You have to take some learnings. You have to do some shitty tasks. You have to work your way up. But then you can end up in the flow where you're in a position where you love what you do and you're competent at it." So that's kind of in a nutshell. And you can, I don't know, you can do some technical magic and just, put this into the video.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Actually, it's a bit janky, but
see, do your magic.
Yeah, I'm doing the magic right now. Just to switch our little camera. Yeah,
power of technology,
bro. You better believe that. So I have it right here. I have a young Chris Hana. I love that this is here. So here we meet Subroto Bakshi. We see a young, very handsome Chris Hana, and we see here
a napkin.
A napkin, the actual napkin. That's so cool.
The actual napkin, like the napkin of power.
So we want to be.
You want to be
competence and love.
You want to hit the flow, but in order to hit the flow, you might have to pay the price, because there might be something you're not really competent at yet, but you love it. And the beauty of it is you can learn it.
And what does... Sorry, I think you just said it. I just got distracted. What does
Yeah.
pay the price mean?
Wow, you didn't listen to all the good stuff I said. Like
Yeah.
you might need to work your way up. You might need to take a job that's not well paid initially. Like, you know, you gotta give something to get it, you know? It's like, and that goes back to, do you really love what you're doing?
Yeah.
Are you really gonna do it? Or are you just gonna talk about it?
Yeah.
Are you gonna put in what it takes to get it, right? Like, do you really want to get it? That's kind of.
And I love that he puts this on with love, you know, and not with like grit or hunger, you know. I mean, these are things that can result from that, but I think it tends to be so like such a just nasty kind of terminology that, you know, many people can't identify with. But I really think that love, you know, everybody has a feeling for that, and it's a very great.
And it
great
doesn't say what it is, right? I mean, you can love a lot of stuff, and it doesn't even have to be probably a job, I guess, right? It can just be anything that you really love. Like, I call it a task. You know, it's your mission. Like, do you have what's your and that goes back to your legacy. What's your private mission? You know, like why are you on Earth?
Why on earth are you on Earth?
Dude, I want to change the world for the better. And even if I do that for one person, that's mission accomplished.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure you've done that sometimes already. And, you know.
Well, I'm pretty sure I made the world a shitty place for other people too. Like, goes hand in hand, I guess.
It's so funny. I had this conversation not too long ago, and it's like, you know, I think, you know, you find these inflection points, whether you find them at 20 or 30 or 60 or 70, where you can turn from asshole or unconscious person or, you know, whatever makes you hurt others, you turn to, you know, the person who is aware of their own power that they always have as a human and the responsibility with it. And then you
see, here we go.
Yeah. And then you know, and then when you then start, you know, first maybe behaving neutral or like just edging out the kinks a little bit that made you hurt others, or maybe it's like an instant transformation. Either way, whatever period you spend after that, I always feel like, you know, for a normal unless you are a deliberate asshole who like went around crushing shit, but maybe even then, whatever the positive things you will do, I have the feeling that they always have the potential, at least, to have the greater impact than the negative. So I think there are always both things, but I feel like, especially when you find it out early in your life, you can do so much good. And in the good, there's always a bad, but with the right intention and the right awareness on it, you can just make good things happen, you know.
But even awareness, you know, I think it's good to be aware, and, you know, do stuff more consciously. But then I think it's you know, it's a box we can open. But I feel like, and that goes back to leading yourself, and a lot of the stuff we're talking about is I'm gonna tie back into the leadership principles, because I feel more happy for other people since the day I really realized, you know, what I really want to do and where I want to be. And when I removed the negative from, oh, everything sucks, and I kind of took control, and I really felt like I am in control. Like, there's stuff I can't control, I know, but I can still control how I navigate the system, right? And the moment I consciously and like think about this, and I am aware of what I'm doing, like, I became a much happier person, because now all of a sudden I can be happy for other people. You know, I can be happy for you finally getting your ass up and doing your show. You know, like, I can be really happy for people really doing what they care about. And I get that not everyone can do this. And, you know, there's I don't know, families, and there's other situations where you just can't do all the fun stuff and good stuff. You know, there might be situations where you just can't do that for whatever circumstances. But whoever can and whoever really does it, like, I'm just really supportive, and I'm just really happy of these kind of people. You know, because I really feel like that's great. It's like, go for it. You know, why not? And I think it's like and that goes way too far. But you go to school and then people want you to figure out what you want to be. Like, there's no fucking way when you're in school. Like, even if you do, like, I don't know, internships or stuff, like, you don't know what you want to be. And if you're an intern, you're not going to do the real job. This is a school intern. So I feel that you can find your niche or your thing. It doesn't matter if you're 18 or 30 or probably 40 or 50. Like, who knows what I'm going to do in 10 years? I don't know yet. Right? So I think it's a mindset kind of thing. Like, just be open, and again, just don't be an asshole. Help others, lift other people up. Like, I think that's kind of important.
I want to continue this tangent a little while. You mentioned earlier at some point, you mentioned like this ego thing. And I was wondering how I feel like what you're saying ties a lot into ego. Because it seems to me that you said this thing like once I stopped being so negative about it, once I found my own thing, you become kind of less vulnerable. And I feel like it's often the ego or whatever perception you have of that like kind of gets jealous or like protects your weak spots. So when you don't know what to do and you see others that seem to know what they're doing, you get like anxious or jealous or whatever. How do you feel about ego? What's your take on that?
I'm pretty sure I still have my ego in certain things. So I think I want to. No, let me say I want to think. Like, I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Yeah, sure.
But I want to think that I stopped caring too much about about what people think that I don't care about. Like, let me put it like this. Like, of course, there's always people you want to impress, and there's always people you want to look good in front of. Like, that stuff still exists, and I think it will always. But I just felt like I don't care what, and it's like a lot of this Gary V stuff, it's like, people that boo at you, they're not on your field, they bought ticket to watch. Like, I read this recently, and I felt like that's so true, it's like they don't even walk in your shoes. Like, if you've not done that stuff, like, it's super easy to stand outside and complain, but then really doing it is a different thing. And I just felt like I'm not going to listen to people who can't give me criticism in a constructive way, or tell me how I can do this differently or in a better way, like whatever better is, for lack of a better term. But if I say, hey, Simon, your show sucks, but I can't tell you what I would do to improve it, like, who cares what I have to say? Maybe I'm just jealous, and I'm not doing this. I'm not putting the hours in to prepare for this and sit there and get all the stuff done. So I always feel it's care a little bit less about what some other people say. I mean, there's this saying like, people do stuff they don't like to buy shit they don't need to impress people they don't like, or something, along of these lines. And that's pretty true a lot of times.
Yeah, man.
So
for sure.
Stop doing that. It's not so easy. I get it.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. Like, maybe just care a little bit less about what people say you don't even care about.
Yeah.
And if they've not been in your shoes, and that goes back into put yourself into other shoes as well. Like, don't stand there and tell people like, oh, this is shit or this is good, like whatever. But it's more like it's about empathy. Try to put yourself into their shoes. Tough one.
Ask more questions.
I do suck at it.
Well, you suck at what?
I suck at empathy a lot of times. I'm getting better at it now, I guess. Oh, I hope I'm getting better. I'm trying hard.
Yeah, I've noticed you're only insulting me like 50% of what you used to do, I think. So
see,
so that's great. Let's go on a bit with we still have ways to go. Suddenly you realize, thanks to our Indian friend with the napkin,
and a lot of other people.
Any more shout outs there?
Daniel Wenninger, like, I'm gonna give it to him. We're gonna talk about that person probably later on as well.
Sure.
He had a massive impact because we did an assessment that, like, about me in the workplace that resonated with me, and I felt like, oh, that makes sense. Like, it's a kind of assessment on the workplace, and it gives you answer 300 questions, Berkman method. Like, it's the Berkman. It's not a test, but the assessment. And what it does is it gives you it kind of gives you an idea of who you are in the workplace. what your needs are, what your interests are, and how you became kind of socialized. So what's your natural behavior, what's your interest, and what's your kind of stress behavior, and why do you end up in your stress behavior? So what are your needs that need to be fulfilled? Like that's in a nutshell. Like it's gonna go too far, but so I was his kind of guinea pig, I guess. So I was the first person he did the assessment with. It kind of really resonated with me, and that helped me to accelerate into the right direction. Like, let me say it like this. Awesome. And then there's all the other people I worked with. Like, there's too many shout outs, but yeah, I've been lucky with the people I met.
You said that, yeah, that's dope. So you find out there's no real risk. I just tied myself up in my cable. There's no real risk breaking in the gaming industry. The limiting belief has been removed from your vision. What do you do?
Send a lot of fucking applications in.
Oh yeah?
And get rejected a gazillion times. Sucks hard. But are you willing to give it more goes? It's again, we're back to fuck it. I really want to do this. So how much effort am I gonna put in? And I said this a billion times as well, and I say it on every podcast, on every kind of discussion I have with Ralph Reichert from ESL. First person to offer me a job in esports.
Nice.
Was so like ESL, got rejected by ESL, got rejected by pretty much everyone I applied. And so Ralph, I sent him a LinkedIn message. I said, look.
And so Ralph is the CEO of ESL, but back then was SK, I presume.
No, it was ESL.
Okay. So maybe I heard you wrong.
So what I did is I sent him a text and said, look, a LinkedIn message. I said, here's what I've done. Here's what I want to do. Like, can we talk? And the way he's like, yeah, let's meet at Gamescom, let's make an appointment, come here. So, and I always like, it's so much funny anecdotes. Like I will never forget this kind of stuff. So we're sitting there, what ESL always builds at Gamescom, right? Like their kind of area, and they have these tents for food and stuff next to it.
Yeah. There used to be the Twitch lounge always. So
yeah,
I know myself.
Exactly. It used to be the Twitch lounge.
Yeah,
so we're sitting in the tent, and we're sitting there, and he looks at me and he's like, so are you a talker or are you a doer? I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's like, what? He's like, yeah, you like to talk or you like to do stuff? I don't know. What kind of trick question is that? And he's like, no, it's like, I just want to know if you want to talk to people or you want to do shit. And, we had this great conversation. He gave me like almost a case study, like a task. I built something for him, said, hey, here's how I would approach it. Came to Cologne, presented it to him. And they offered, like, long story short again, right? Because there's more people I talked to. But eventually ESL offered me a job, which I didn't take. Because at the same time, I had my conversations with Fnatic in London, the team. And I felt like another life decision, right? Okay, shit. 2 offers. Do I go to London and work in a team, or do I go to Cologne and work for ESL? And then Daniel comes back in, asking me like, okay, look, the only advice I can give you is fast forward 10 years. Which decision would you regret more if you wouldn't have taken it? Not going to London and do that stuff, or not going to Cologne and do this? And I really had to think about it. And I've never lived abroad. I'm like, I think I would regret not moving abroad and living somewhere else and getting that experience. So that kind of shaped the decision. All right. So what happened? Like, moved to London. Was a short thing, like 8 months. Didn't really like living in London. We met there though.
We met there. Fun times.
We met there.
Yeah.
We met there with Saad. Who's the person I spoke to most, and who then basically kind of hired me. So Saad hired me into Fnatic. Because we were aligned in what we think we need to do. Kind of, right? And what the evolution is. And he, in my opinion, he had it figured out in terms of, agency model and what's kind of next and how can you build on the business. So then I went to London and, I worked at Fnatic for a short period.
Quick story time from my end. Beautiful day at Fnatic headquarter in London. At the time, I believe it was a kind of like a big flat. I think it wasn't really an office, if I remember it right.
With a terrace.
With the terrace, and we were watching some football game.
But we met for the first time. We met in these. What is it? We met at the stairs at the Twitch office.
Oh yeah.
For the first time, yeah. That's when I saw you first, and then you came. Then we came over and had the fall football thing. But the first time I've seen you and met you is at your own HQ.
Oh, okay. Haha, that HQ, quote
And
unquote. Yeah,
yeah,
I
and
actually,
I'm not sure if I'm not sure I can say all the stuff that you talked about, but yeah, that's
what did I talk about?
smoking.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
was that in at the Twitch times?
at the Twitch times.
Interesting. What was I offering you some illegal recreational drug or?
Yeah, like you were talking about illegal recreational drugs.
Yeah, I was quite into that at the time. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
see,
was.
but so that's what I recall. That's I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but that's the first encounter I recall meeting Simon. So yeah, that's really what it is.
Yeah, you
And
know,
then we had this. Now you can go back to your beautiful day, the terrace. Go on.
that's so funny. I can't remember that first one. Why can't I remember that?
It was short. It was really brief.
Okay.
Or because of recreational.
And we
drugs.
just met for the first time, and I offered you to smoke illegal recreational drugs. Really? Crazy.
Yeah.
This guy right here.
Which I did not do.
No, you did not do it. No, you did not do it. But you looked like a chill guy, so I was like,
Yeah.
it was how I made friends a lot at the time, because it was like, man, I tell you, London. I think we had maybe a similar experience. It was a barren wasteland in terms of, like, you know, cool people, like by my standard. It was just I never really, maybe it was in my, I don't know, I just never really stuck to the city. It was so hard. I was there 4 years. Such a struggle. And so yeah, you could make I made a lot of, you know, good friends with you smoke a joint together, and because in London so many people are so like stressy or like not chill, and then you kind of narrow down the how cool people are, which is of course you know, don't you know, wouldn't recommend it as a technique, but it was what I had at the time, so maybe that was the source of that conversation.
Well, and it worked for you, I guess. So
yeah, a little bit.
No harm done, I guess.
Little bit. Not too much. Some to the lungs, maybe. So yeah, we were at the Fnatic office, and it was awesome. I was there for the first time and had like this. I was flashed. I don't know how it was for you, but I was like, wow, you know, this is fucking Fnatic. We were sitting on the roof terrace watching some football. I don't care about football, but I don't care. I'm eating like burgers. I know the people there. There's Karn. He's a legend. It's like we're just like eye to eye, you know, can talk, you know, haha. There's, I don't know, I think Sam Matthews wasn't there. But yeah, I met you. We talked about playing some Smash. I was like, man,
see?
It's cool. It was cool.
See, dude, and what you just described is the story of my esports life, really. Like, I got to meet, so I always played games, and I got to meet all the people who were involved in these kind of things, right? And for me, it's the same. It started with Karn, like everyone knew Fnatic, so, you know, then meeting the people who started Fnatic, like being part of the whole story. Like that just escalated, and I don't want to jump too far ahead because we're going to get there, but that escalated into, like, I met so many people, dude, who did the stuff that I love, or, you know, who created the things, who built the things, who built the ecosystems. And I find myself in these situations where I'm like, is this real? Like, is this kind of shit actually happening? Right?
What's a story like that where you're like, I can't believe this is real?
Like meeting Mike Morhaime. It's like, for me, you know, I played Rock and Roll Racing on my Super Nintendo, you know, like Lost Vikings, all that kind of stuff, like Blizzard games back in the days. And then you meet the guy who's kind of started the company.
Who's a super nice guy.
That's pretty cool to me. Like, I'm like, okay, holy shit, you know, this was one of my holy shit moments.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, recent stuff, like, you know, I watch a lot of this Gary Vee content, you know, and I don't love the cult around it sometimes, but I kind of like where he's coming from, and I like his angle. And
it's
then
very
when you have an interview, but when you interview him, and then you know, Zoom goes off, and like he sits there talking to you, interacting with you, that's kind of surreal. So that felt pretty weird.
Yeah, you did that. Then, dude, I was very impressed by that too. That's cool.
And I can go on forever. Like, it's like, you know, Mark Merrill, like John Needham, you know, talking to these people. Well, fantastic. Obviously, I mean, you look at Jens, you know, all the stuff that Jens does in terms of building the ecosystem, like, you know, it's just so many insane people who do so much to the stuff I really love. And it's like you can talk to them almost I'm not gonna say eye to eye in all occasions, because they know their shit,
Of course.
and there's a lot to learn. But you can have a conversation. And the coolest thing about this is they know what I kind of did. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, so we talk Esports Observer and we're gonna get there, but people know this. So people know the platform. And so when you mention it, it's like, oh yeah, I read this. Like, I get this, all of a sudden I get these random tweets at me. People like, oh, Chris, did you see this? Chris, did you see this? And then you have like Mark Cuban in an interview talking about, oh yeah, you just go to Esports Observer to get your numbers. And so he casually drops this, right?
Boy, that's cool.
Like everyone comes like, oh, Chris, did you see this? Did you see this? And I'm like, I like it, I can have this every day. Like, I think that's awesome. And what you figure out is, people are people, and people are just people, and everyone's just a human being, and they want to be treated like human beings. And I mean, you can idolize people, but in the end, it's people.
Oh yeah.
So that's a big jump, and that's like a quick thing through history. But I feel like have respect, don't be an asshole, but then also don't put people like too much or too high above you.
Very important, I think. And but what I very much respect, because what you can do too is like the opposite. You can be like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm this guy, and then you can treat everybody with this type of like, who are you? Like barely looking at you attitude. And I think there's a lot of that too everywhere. Doesn't really matter. And, I really respect that, I could feel it from you now that you just have these kind of fanboy moments and just be like, yo, I mean, fuck, that's so
Dude,
cool.
Fatality. Like I met, and I said this in the podcast, like so through a mutual friend, I met Jonathan, and we were in Oakland, and that's when I was still drinking. So we were drinking, right? We kind of got hammered. And so I took a picture and I shared this on Twitter as well. And I took a picture and I sent this to a friend, to my best friend. I'm like, see what's like, look at this. I get a message back like, what the fuck? Are you drinking with Fatality? I'm like, yes, it's happening. And it's like, back in the days, and I told him that as well. Like I fanboyed him so hard, because it's like, oh my God, professional gamer, and look what he built, and look the brand he built, and he's selling all the gear, and you look at all that stuff. It's like, that's crazy. That's like, oh my God, look at this guy. And then all of a sudden, like, yeah, he's a human being. Guess what? Right. And he has friends, and, he can just talk to you. So we had good conversation. And then even in the podcast, like, he's like, oh, he texted me like, oh, I listened to your podcast. I think this is really cool. And, we had a brief chat, and I'm like, you want to come on? He's like, yeah, sure. And then we just did an episode. Right. So it's, I don't know, man, just do stuff, and if you don't ask, it's always no. If you ask, sometimes people say yes.
Fuck yeah.
And if they say no, ask again and ask again and ask them so many times, like until they ignore you, or they I don't know, or they do it.
Yeah.
No, but just kidding. But it's like I really had a lot of these fanboy moments, because I grew up kind of with games and in that space. And to me, it's like it's Alice in Wonderland so many times, because you just can meet all the people, you can talk to them, you can understand what they did. I have a different appreciation now of the things they build, because like building a company, and you look at what kind of motherships they've built, and how they pivoted them, and how they moved them through history. I guess you can say that. It's insane. I have a different level of respect for all these people. But then also there's like young Chris, like, oh my God, I love the fucking game. I love the game. And like, you get to meet these people. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool, man. So short stint in London, meeting some cool people.
Yep.
And then, it's not it. But you're in, right? What happens next? Where do you go?
So the story was that, and that was Saad back then. So Saad kind of had it laid out to me, and that's why I joined the company, really.
So that's we mentioned him before. That's Saad Sarwar. Where is he? Where does he work now? Still
Level 99.
Level 99. Yeah.
Yep. So Level 99 marketing agency. That's what's gonna come next, because the way he thought about the business of esports, and like think what is it, like 6 years back, 7 years back, or whatever. The idea was that if you have a team like Fnatic, you can build it into an agency model and help brands and help other people learn from your experience. Like Fnatic dominating everything back then, right? Like game-wise, business-wise, like really dominating shit. Easy. Like I went there for sales and like account management was easy. Like if you understood business, it was an easy sell, right? It's like, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's how we do it. Here's what you can get from it. Like we sold a lot of stuff very quickly. So, and we got some really good deals in. So that was just easy. And then it's like, okay, what's next? And so, and during these kind of, talks we had before, we felt like, okay, so what can you do with this? Hey, maybe, it's building it into an agency, helping others learn from your experience, like doing that stuff, like really building an agency on top of Fnatic or under Fnatic, doesn't matter. But then Fnatic back in the days didn't want to do this. So I kind of went there because we wanted to build this. Then we couldn't. Doesn't matter. Was still good learnings, good time, good network. And then, next episode, like Kim Rom, Saad, Elroy back then, Andrea, so a couple of people gathered to build an agency because it was a next step, right, in the evolution of what's there to do. And that was level 99. So they took me along for the ride. I joined that. Was fun. Didn't work out as intended for me. I was back in the time, I was like already super data driven, like super hardcore into measuring. Like I had a friend who helped me, gather data, like social media, like, hey, let's build analysis, based on actual data. So I'm not the super creative type in terms of, I have this crazy idea, let's build this into a campaign, right? It's not me. I can be creative with data. I have different ways of being creative, but that wasn't my thing. So like what eventually happened is I kind of left, or like we parted ways. Let me say we parted ways, more or less mutually, because we felt like, okay, it doesn't make sense. Like this doesn't work out. Like people got annoyed. I got annoyed. It's like, okay, it just doesn't work. So I was looking at, okay, what do I do? Just go back a little bit. When I left Fnatic, and that's, do you know Victor from Kingwin?
No.
Okay, Victor Van Lee, founder of Kingwin. You know Kingwin, right?
Yes, it's a key selling website.
Yeah, but also a lot of more stuff now. Like they build lounges, like they do a lot of things. Like he has a lot of things in his head, and he's doing them. Back to doing. So we sold Fnatic, like so. Kingwin and Fnatic partnered, so we got to meet Victor. Then when we started this whole level 99 kind of thing, it's like, okay, I don't want to live in London. Like I want to go somewhere else. Then, woman on my side back at the time, also like, let's leave. We don't want to be here. Like let's leave London. Like we were both really unhappy in London. So what happened is, okay, where do you want to go? Hey, Berlin would be nice. And then Victor introduced me to this guy who had a kind of office in Berlin and who rented him a room and who could probably rent me a room too for level 99. So I could go to Berlin and start like the Berlin office. And that person was Jens Hilgers. Wow. So I got the introduction. I got the introduction from Victor to Jens. I met Jens, and Jens looked. I also remember this. Jens saying, "So if you don't know what to do, you start an agency. Is that what you do today?" Like along these lines. I'm like, no.
That's a Jens type of line.
And I'm like, no, we have a concept. So we met in Berlin. I walked him through this, and I'm not sure if he was impressed or not. But he's like, yeah, no, he can have a room, no problem. So he rented me a room. So that's how I got to meet Jens, and that's how I saw him more often, because we were on the same floor in the same building. So back to me dropping out of level 99. I'm like, okay, so what next? And then I spoke to Jens, and he's like, no, look, we always have like room for good people, which, I appreciated at the time that he considered me to be one of these people. And so I was already sitting on the floor where the Esports Observer was sitting on. I wanted to build a data product. Influencer.gg, influencer marketing platform. Let's look at all the metrics. Let's, build some marketplace around it, and like super crazy ideas. Works. A lot of people did it now. So it actually worked, but nobody believed in it back in the days. Pity.
Ahead of your time there.
I don't know. I mean, probably people did it before as well, but it's like, this will not work. And I'm okay. I think it could have, but it doesn't matter because things work out well. So I was gathering data, I was building on data, building stuff on data, building insights from data. And Esports Observer was built, was just running for a couple of months. I don't think had like a full strategy behind it or really, figured things out or a clear path. So long story really short is that, hey, why don't you take what you have and look at what we have here? And, we kind of build the Esports Observer into something. I'm like, okay, what about Bloomberg? Let's look at Bloomberg and let's be a data-driven editorial kind of outlet. And that's what I then came in to do, really. So that's how I got into TEO. So the story is like, yes, did I build the company? Like, did I found the company? No, like not the legal entity, but everything you see now, like from branding to like what's on there, did I build it? Yes, right. I still say co-founder out of respect for the person who initially built the company, but I consider myself founder of the platform, really.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And then I did that for a couple of years. But that's how I came to what I'm still doing, right? So that's how I came to the Esports Observer. Yeah. So I love business. I'm a business guy. I love esports. So I actually combined the stuff that I really care about and built that platform with a lot of help. Like, it's not, oh, I built this. No, I didn't. I kind of gave vision and, got vision and, got bashed and, so the full experience. It's not a beautiful story. It's a good story now, but it's a story full of ups and downs and frustration and hate and love. I think as it should be.
As it should be, a true hero's journey. Thank you so much.
It is.
For sharing that until here, and it's nice to arrive in something like the present. I know many other things happened, but yeah, it's cool. Many things I didn't know, and super glad to hear it. And yeah, I mean, I want to continue. I want to know, one thing that just kind of impressed me, and something I wanted to ask you anyway. Let's talk about data for a moment again. You said you're creative with data, which is an unintuitive statement, I guess, for the very basic understanding of what creativity is. But then, of course, we know that makes perfect sense. But describe a little bit how, what you were seeing at the time when you were building this influencer GG, or over the time your data products. What let us in what's going behind, let's say, between your eyes and your brain when you kind of see data. And one little prompt I also have for you. I remember you telling me when we met at some event that you take notes, and in a specific way. And I really remember that about you, that you're like there on your phone, like taking notes and already cross-referencing. And yeah, maybe there's a story and a descriptive thing there. I'm very curious about that.
Well, I mean, look, I have a gut feeling. Gut feeling I feel also comes with experience, right? You build 50 companies, you know how this works. I don't. So for certain things, I do have a gut feeling, but I always love to back it up with data. The challenge, and we're back to like projections and all that stuff. I can give you different data sets, but the challenge is, what do you do with it? Are you just validating a fact you want to get validated? Are you really using it to tease? Are you using it to, create? And yeah, I mean, I love cross-referencing stuff, and it's sometimes it works, sometimes it really just doesn't. But when you talk about influencer marketing, so what we did at Fnatic is we showed people how we performed, right? And here's how we typically perform. Here's how competition performs. And again, we're in a time where Fnatic dominated everything. Like, there was no competition really, I feel, in the Western world. Let's say in Europe, to not get trash talked. But so what happens is we could back it up. We could say, look at this, look at this, look at that. And so, started just comparing stuff to like soccer teams, started like engagement rates, like how many people actually like, share, whatever, do stuff, build the kind of first, I guess you could call it algorithm, but it's just like, I don't know, formula plus minus, let's tweak a little bit here and there to just come, scoring systems, like build scoring systems for how we performed compared to others. And just experimented with stuff. But then you could see how people reacted to this. Like, oh, cool, we didn't know this. Oh, cool, we didn't know that. So what I wanted to do is like, imagine you would build a platform. I mean, you have this now. You have like Sprout, and it probably existed back in the days. Like, I don't want to It's not that, I invented shit. But I just really felt like, hey, there's so much you can do with this. Not just like posting but really analyzing, like what's the best time to post, what's the best day, what's the best like a moment, is there a good moment, right after a game, in the game, like I just try to cross-reference a lot of these data points and come up with, okay, what works, what doesn't work. And while I did that, we just collected data points. So what I wanted to build is I wanted to build this analytics platform that lets you understand media value for social media. I think in the end it is. And now imagine, like, my dream would have been building a live auction marketplace where I say, I want to buy a post from Simon right now. What's it worth? And then we look at frequency, engagement rates. We look at, all that stuff you get. And then there's almost like a stock chart that says, hey, right now, if you buy it now, it's worth $100. So I could bid $100 and you can say yes or no. Right? So connecting brands to influencers, but in a live way. So you always know, are they currently increasing? Are they decreasing? Built this on historic data, but also on kind of projections. Long story, but I love to see stuff that's real, and data to me is really real. And I know it's subjective because still people, use the data points they want to use to validate or back up the facts. So I just try to be as open-minded as I can and just toy around. I like to experiment with information, really.
And that's kind of where you get creative, right? I think I remember you telling me one time you kind of go to, like, let's say your analytics tool, whatever you're on right now, and you kind of click around a bit, cross map some stuff. Like for me, it's like, I feel like for me, it's like I click around on YouTube. I look at people. I always look through my Twitter, and like, it's kind of for a long time I saw it as a waste of time or something, but I've been realizing that it's really my work. I love people, I look through people and I get a sense of the mass of people, how they think, what's going on, how they feel, and
I want to know shit, it's like, I look at esports earnings, great platform, but I look at esports earnings and it's not at a level where I want it to be, so I want to understand what's the average, how many people are on average earning money with esports a year, right? How's that curve distributed? Like, how does that curve go? I want to know, how much money do they make on average a year? And then, I look at tournaments. Oh, there's 5 billion tournaments. How many of them are below 5K prize money? How many of them are between 5 and 10 grand? How many are above 100 grand? So you start to read, and then you look over time. So what you see is that and I think the amount of tournaments went down slightly, but the prize money, or the amount of the ones with higher prize money, so you can see how stuff changes, right? So now there's more tournaments with a lot more money, but then there's probably not so many amateur games anymore, or people don't like, and it can be that people don't put the data in anymore or whatever. But like, I want to work with the kind of sources and just see, can I build any conclusion from that stuff? And if you give me that data, I can sit here for 5 hours and just toy around with it, or full day, a week, I don't care. If I had time, I can just try to come up with some insights. Yeah, and I love that. I love that shit. Like, I really love that.
That's so cool. I love that you love that, and that you know it, and that you're building around it. And how's the Esports Observer data product at the moment, or does that still exist? I'm sorry for my naive question, but
oh wow, that's bad preparation right here, man.
All the hours of preparation, and this
I hope you feel bad. I hope you feel bad for being not prepared.
There's the insults that are now
there's the insults.
Much less frequently.
No, if you have me on as a guest, like, just kidding. No, the data product itself does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
But we entered a partnership with Newzoo.
Right. Yeah.
So we're working with Newzoo on Newzoo Pro and some of the stuff they're doing, and because again, if we do our things and they do their things, there's a certain overlap and there's certain individual data. But now, if we put it all together, we can cross-reference way more, and we can do way more stuff.
The power of data.
So I'm all up for building. So that's what we're doing.
And are the things happening? Like, are you building towards what you just said, the kind of stuff that you want to see? Are you making ways? Are you getting to the places? Where should people, by the way, if somebody's listening, interested in the grand data scheme, where should they look? Newzoo.com or what?
Yeah, Newzoo.com. Like, Newzoo Pro is like, you don't have, like, go buy the reports, of course, right? Get the reports.
Yeah.
But jokes aside, because people typically don't like, I mean, there's a lot of people that buy them actually, but it's not your first starting point, I guess. Depends on who you are. But if you just want to sift through a little bit of data, get User Pro. Like it's $100 a month. You know, it's like, it's good data. It's actually, you can do a lot of stuff with that.
Right here from the data man.
Yeah, like I don't like, honestly, man, it's, look, we work with them, yes, but I wouldn't be behind this, or I wouldn't do this if I felt like it's shit. I mean, let's say what it is. If I wouldn't believe in it, I would not put my name on it. You know, if I say this, like if I say, oh, go use User Pro, and I wouldn't think that it would help, you just burn yourself. So, you know, reputation is everything, I guess.
Of course.
So I actually believe in what they do.
Yeah, and I mean, of course you do. Your company is partnered with them. Absolutely no need to justify. And I was very serious when I say, you know, we just
and I just want to make this clear, because
Yeah.
it always sounds like, oh yeah, look at this, oh, super salesy. Yeah, of course, but buy a good product.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and you're the data guy. You have to. You're in it. So I think I'm very serious. Like, because, you know, if anybody listens here that's, I don't know, new to esports or something, you never know. I think it's a great pointer, because we talked so much about data integrity. They should go where you have your fingers in the game, I think. So,
and go to other places too, right? Don't just go to one place. Like, just do your homework, do your research. And, you know, Nielsen has a lot of good data. There's a company called Shikenzo, like, you know, startup, I guess you can still call them. They're doing good stuff. There's a lot of companies providing data. Not all of them doing the same things, but that's good. So you can get different sources and have, you know, a pool of data, and then look at what you do with it. Right?
Perfect.
So that's what you can, and I think, do your homework. And that ties back into the whole data stuff we discussed in the beginning, right? Like, do your homework. Like, look at stuff, you know, look at how big it really is, and look at how, I don't know, small it is. Deloitte said it, I guess, right? Esports, bigger than you think, but smaller than you think. And I still think that hits it.
Yeah, for sure. Don't let them tell you what's not the case. Hey, I wanted to kind of try to wrap up your beautiful story, and then talk to you a little bit more about 2 or 3 like lifestyle topics that I just wanted to hash out with you. You know, end is not near, but maybe coming. After that, we can happily wrap up.
Yeah.
Just to give the rough timeline. Can you give us an overview over the now of the Esports Observer? We heard, you know, you got into it, you built it. It's the
With a lot of other people.
Yeah, of course we assume.
I'm a very lucky son of a bitch. I met a lot of people that helped me in the right ways, that supported everything I did. It's too many people to mention here. But, you know, part of being aware is, fuck me, it's never one person. And I love my team, but it's not even just about the team. It's about all the people surrounding the whole thing. There have been, like, you know, I look at even how I met Jens, right? It's like through a person, and then that stuff happens. I met a lot of the right people at the right time. I've just been really lucky. And I gotta say this, and people, oh, you know, luck is, you know, we can talk about what luck is, doesn't matter, but I just want to say this.
I appreciate that.
Good.
It's awesome. And so you, as in the plurality of you, everything,
Yes,
and everybody who's with you,
multiple me's,
yes,
and everyone behind me. So this room is
and
full.
with you, and everybody who's connected to you, you built this, and yeah, I know you actually got acquired at some point, and you know, you personally are doing a lot of media right now. Maybe just to wrap it up, what's the state now? What kind of are you doing now there? What should people be looking for?
Crazy. I mean, the whole story is crazy, really.
Please do tell.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. It's these moments, right? It's these what the fuck moments, and for people it's like the usual business thing. For me, it wasn't. You know, I just at one point find myself sitting in One World Trade Center overlooking New York and talking about investment. And that's like, you know, if you look at where the company comes from, run room in Berlin, like there's this picture I'll show you later. It's like 3 desks in a room and that's it. And we were hustling hard. We're really working hard to get shit done. 1 story a day, like super crazy stuff. And then you find yourself in this situation. So where are we now? We're part of a group. We're part of this insane group. So we got acquired by Advance. Advance owns a Condé Nast, Vogue, GQ, Wired, like all that stuff.
So it's like this, like Advance is like a huge company that own a lot of shit, right? And then there's Condé Nast, which is also a huge company
that owns a lot of shit.
Owns a lot of shit, right? Like
and
media.
Then somewhere, all the way down, you'll find like TEO.
Yeah.
We're part of a holding. We're working with other companies. Main companies we're working with is Sports Business Journal, really. It's kind of the Esports Observer for sports. And I'm gonna say this the wrong way. They're gonna hate me. We're like I think it works so well because we are what they are for esports, right? So they do live events. They're the go-to reference for sports business in the States. That's it. Period. Like if you're in sports business, you know them and you read their shit and you're subscribed. You pay a subscription. You go to their events. Like it's the definite authority of sports. Period. And that's really what it is. And now, so what I'm doing now, I'm working with these people. I have a different background. I come from like the whole kind of social area. Look, we live on social media. We do all that stuff. They kind of they help build the sports business, but also print. And now we're kind of, it's almost like we're kind of merging this all together and we're working with each other. Like I learn a shit ton of stuff every day. And I just hope that, we can teach people a thing or two as well. The team at Esports Observer, really young team, really, really passionate about like social topics, about UI, UX, like all that kind of stuff. So we're now almost helping everyone else in this kind of family. So there's a Newzoo, Sports Business Journal, and Leaders in Sport who do sports congresses under the umbrella of Leaders Group. So that's what it is. And, we're now kind of working with the other media outlets and try just to help them and they help us. Like it's fun. It's amazing. So what do? I really get to do the stuff I like. So I get to work on the topics I like and I get to do content, and so when we're talking about all the names that I look at the podcast, Conquering Geek Culture, if you look at the people that I spoke to, like, of course, there's a lot of people that have an interest in talking about all this stuff because they also see like it's way bigger than TEO now. It's not just us. It's like a lot of, there's so much more exposure. That's why the podcast is hosted on Sports Business Journal. It's a different thing. We're building joint products. We're working on new formats. So I can pitch whatever I want to pitch, and then people either shut it down or we just explore. It's fun. It's actually fun, and I'm working with people, dude, that are pretty smart, and I love it when you feel like you're the stupidest person in the room. It's actually good. Like I'm still accelerating in terms of what I learn, so it's fun.
Yeah, you kind of become young again in this situation. You go from the top dog. I know you're humble about it, but you have to, like you said it earlier, you have to lead and you also have to follow. It's really like the input is so valuable.
Dude, if I look at how my boss does strategy, and I look at that stuff and I feel like, oh, that's so fucking smart. I think it's just what it is, It's like, and I'm not going to go into any real details, but the way this is laid out and what we're doing, it's just like this just makes sense. And I would have probably not done it that way. I think that's the most important learning, like being honest and just say like, yeah, I like it, but I probably would have done it differently. And then also it's like there's a couple of things I need to change. Like I can't be so pushy. I can't be so fast all the time. We're living in this fast industry, but then also it's sustainable businesses, right? So you always have to weigh like impact. You can't just go left tomorrow because there's already established businesses. And so it's interesting and it's really fun. And I mean fun because I'm learning a lot. Do I have shitty days? Oh hell yeah, I have shitty days. But it's I like to get up every morning and I just love kind of the opportunity that I have. And I really appreciate, all the stuff that led me here. And eventually, and now we gotta make the super spiritual, and then we can lead to all your other questions. Everything that kind of happened, good or bad, led us here to this very moment where we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Who knows if I would have met you if something would have gone differently 20 years ago.
Yeah. Beautiful, isn't it? Or we would
It's
have
cool, huh?
smoked together, and then you would have
Imagine
been
I would
like
have started.
one of those people who you smoke a joint with, and then they're like super annoying, talk all the time, and
Imagine I
I
would
would
have
have been
smoked
like,
weed with you, and I probably would have said, "Oh, I like weed. I'm gonna smoke weed all day. Fuck work." It's like, who knows?
oh yes,
Who knows, man? Maybe I would be on crack today.
but stay away from the reefer, man. I just have
Yeah,
to say,
don't do drugs.
don't do drugs. Um, yeah, it's what is your? I mean, I know we kind of have to do this, but I want to kind of be the place where you don't. Excuse your spirituality. It's always like, I know this is really esoteric, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
not gonna lie. I'm down with that shit.
I'm actually not.
I know.
It's like
That's why I was gonna ask you that. Yeah.
and that's why I'm like, oh, I know it sounds spiritual, but
Yeah.
I'm not really. I'm not really, but I'm somewhat. Do
A
I
little
believe? No, but it's mindset. Do I believe that everything happens for a reason? Yes, but then also I think it's only justification for me to see good stuff in bad shit. You know what I mean? When we're talking about cutting negativity, like something
Yeah.
bad happens, then I think I like to look at it as, okay, this will be good for something else. And
Yeah,
then
but
in a
cutting
year,
negativity,
you'll
that's
see it.
pragmatic. That's
Yeah.
practical.
No, I'm just saying, like, I do believe, if you would ask me, I do believe that everything happens for a reason. But then, I mean, of course, it depends on whether you take a learning out of it or not. And, I like to take learnings out of it. So that's why, for me, I like to believe that everything happens for a reason. The people you meet, the stuff that goes wrong. I mean, look at COVID. Stupid example, but I mean, you know me for a long time. Like, I can actually cook. I can do sports. Like, I changed completely. Like, and I changed myself. Like, I lost 20 kilos now. I feel really good. It's like I probably wouldn't have started all that shit if I wasn't locked in my flat, more or less. It's like exaggerating, overstating for effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's always, you can either be like, oh, fuck all of this, or you can make something out of it. And I like to think that I'm still learning how to make things, how to play the cards I've been dealt, really, because I can't change it. It's what it is. So what can I do now? I can either be sad or I can just do something. So let's use it for the good.
Hell yeah. And I mean, if you say this however you want to say it, there are many ways to say it. Everything happens for a reason. You just have more awareness in each moment, and you don't have to, it's a bit more relaxed. You don't have to, like, if you have the feeling, oh, I need to control everything, and then you try to control everything, and then you don't even know whether the things that appeared to have been controlled by you in your perspective didn't just go there anyway. You're like trying to pull something towards you, and it's just like, yo, chill, dude, I'm coming anyway, right? Like, and
yeah. Plus, you can't, like, you have two hands, like, you can't pull everything, man. It's like,
yeah. And so when you feel like everything what I need is there, or everything that I need, then you can be much more like chill in the moment and be like, look at it, and it's like, oh, that's what I have in front of me right now.
So let's go back to Gary Vee, right? It's
Sure.
patience. Like, be patient. Like, patience. So when I started, so what I did is, like, look, I don't drink anymore. Like, I completely stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. I stopped, like, I'm eating healthy and I do sports. And I didn't change it all at once because you can't, right? So I don't drink for what, like 2.5 years now, 2 years now. I don't even know. Like, for quite some time now. And I feel better. Like, I stopped smoking even before that, right? So that's cool. And it's, I don't know, like, when you start to do sports, you do it for a week, like, you feel better, yes, but does stuff change? Not immediately. But now, like, half a year, you look back and you say, holy shit, look at what happened, right? It just takes patience, man. And I believe it's with everything. And the challenge is, I'm a person, I want everything now. Like, if I'm getting a guitar, I want to play guitar, dude. If I can't do it tomorrow, fuck this shit. Like, I want to. Why can't I play? I bought a guitar. Like, I played for 5 hours. Why can't I do this yet? That's how I often am, and I really have to take a step back and feel like, dude, if you practice an hour a day for long enough days, it's gonna come. And that shows you whether it's the right thing or not. Because if you stop doing it, then probably it's not the thing that satisfies you enough. That's how I try to look at stuff, and then try to be patient, but know where you want to go, right? I think if you just have like no clue, yes, things will fall into place, but you still got to walk down a way, and you got to decide which direction you're going to take, sort of ish.
Yeah.
Like tough to grab this now because we're getting really meta.
No, we can grab it. I think it's like, when if you, let's state that, okay, we're aware, right? We said, okay, let's take the cards we're dealt. Like you said, let's get better at this. And then, one card you're gonna like pull from your deck is gonna be a fork in the road. Like, and if maybe it doesn't look like it, because you're not actually pulling a card, and because it's live and it has this, but there are patterns you can recognize, and you can recognize with enough experience and practice and openness, you can recognize a fork in the road. You can say, oh, okay, here it's my time to choose. Let's take your ESL Fnatic story. Your coach Daniel, I believe, he pointed it out to you. It's a pretty obvious one, but he reinforced it, right? It's like, it's a fork in the road. Take the path you won't regret. And I think,
but in a really smart way, right? So, and it's always in the asking questions way, rather than do this. It's like, so what do you think? Would you regret more if you wouldn't do it in whatever 10 years? And that's really gets you to think, okay, holy shit, like, where's my life going, and what do I think is going to happen if I do this or this? So you start think, like, can be complete bullshit because you don't know what's happening. Like, I sometimes, like, I'm not into what ifs. I'm interested though to see what life would have been if I would have taken the ESL route, for example.
Yeah,
I still love the people, man. Like, I still love, like, it's could have been fun. They got acquired, like, who knows what would have happened. Fun. But it's about not regretting shit, because it's great. Look at where we are. I mean, for us, I don't think we can complain. There's no way we can complain about anything, man. So we got to just be grateful for what we're doing, what we get to do.
I think that's true. And I mean, one thing that I want to underline, because it's something I struggled with a lot, is like what you just said, that we can't complain. You also can't take that too far, like there are many cardinalities of like not being able to complain. You can say, I can't complain, I have a roof over my head and food on the table.
Yeah.
Right, but it's important.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like I was at Twitch, I had my dream job, and yet I had a feeling in my gut, in my heart, whatever you want to call it, that, I think I got to go. Even though, like, let's say financially and, career-wise, I could have done a bunch of shit there. And, but I needed to see something different for sure.
But look, that's perspective. And I know this sounds super cocky to some, and it sounds completely stupid to others, right? And then some will understand. But look at all the money you earned. Look at all the esports Twitch millions you made. It still didn't fulfill you and didn't make you happy. And I'm talking about the segment of people that can go for what makes them happy. I'm not talking about, again, we had this. I'm not talking about the people who really have to go and do shit to provide for their families. So, but for you specifically, in a situation where you're happy enough, where you can do what you really want to do, like, money is not the game changer. And I know a lot of theories deal with this, but like, you earn probably the money, all the monies. Like, you spent, you could have spent all the money, but it didn't make you happy. So there is this inner unrest that makes you find what really makes you happy. And that's a privilege. Like, that's super privileged, that you're able to follow that. But here's my thing. If you're privileged enough that you can do this and you don't do it, well, you're stupid.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's really what I think. Like, because it is a privilege. Like, there's people that would kill to be in your position, probably. And then, if you're then stuck in something you dislike and you're getting unhappy and you're fuck this, fuck that, like, that's stupid. If you're in that situation, like, you almost owe it to everyone else to just go for that shit.
Straight up.
I think that's where I stand. Hard to explain, but yeah, I guess maybe it came across.
I think it comes across. You mentioned Daniel and his coaching ways, and I happen to know that you mentioned his little Berkman method there.
Yeah.
And I know that you actually became, I think, under his guidance, a certified Berkman coach. Can you talk a little bit about that? What is it that you do there, and what did you learn there, and all the good things?
I can also tell you all the bad things. No, so what do I do there? So, Daniel is running this kind of personal growth, personal development kind of modules with MBA students, like part-time and full-time.
At
WHU, still at WHU. So, what happens is more and more students. So he kind of figured out he needed help. So he asked a group of people whether they want to help him and, become certified coaches so he can get rid of some work, distribute work to others. He's just delegating, but in a nice way. And I'm like, dude, that changed my life. If I can just give that to one person ever, I'd love to do it. So I sign up immediately. What I'm doing now is like I'm kind of coaching, and I don't like the term, and I'll tell you why when I'm done. So I'm coaching MBA students, that are in the same situation I was in, maybe they know what they want to do, maybe they don't, maybe they know what stresses them, maybe they don't. So it's really, so they take the assessment and then we go through the profile, and they can ask me anything really. So we talk about career and personal development. It's personal growth. So I want to help them grow. That's really what it is. So why do I hate the term coach? Because I feel this really often. I'm not sure how you feel about this, but I often feel I don't have anything to offer really because I haven't figured it all out. And then what you learn is when you speak to people that if you just open up and you just talk about, everything we did now, dude, that's a long conversation, and that's a really honest conversation. And that's a really almost like deep conversation for the stuff you typically talk about, even in podcasts, right? So if you open up, other people will open up. Like that happens, I would say pretty much most of the time. Like that happened to me, like where people then open up, or I open up if they open up. And then you can have these open conversations, which I like. You need a certain level of trust. So, we're now getting naked in front of everyone who listens to this, which is going to be interesting.
Get ready.
But it's what it is, And I mean, it's nothing bad or weird. So I just still often feel, and I'm not doing this. Look, and this is important to me. I'm not doing this to be perceived as super humble or so. I know what I can do, and I know what I'm good at, right? And I know I'm good at certain stuff. So yeah, I can also be like braggy, and I can also be cocky. But I often feel I don't have a lot of shit to offer to people when they're like, "Oh, can you help me with this?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm the wrong person. Like, how am I gonna help you with this?" And then I just work on their profiles with them, and I just have these conversations. And so far, the feedback's been good. So it's at least, and that goes back to what Daniel did to me. Basically, you're just asking them questions, right? You're not saying anything. You're just asking. So what my job is to ask the right questions, so people start to think about perspective. And that's what it comes down to, really. And I enjoy that. What do I learn? I learn how different people are. It just helps me to always understand how different people are, and that they all have their different backgrounds. It also helps me understand that everyone is going through his own struggle. And the one thing and that's really funny, we're all struggling sometimes with the same things, but we think we're the only one.
All the time, right? Isn't that crazy?
And that goes back to opening up. So then the moment you open up, people are like, "Oh shit, I feel the same way. How did you deal with this?" And you're like, "Yo, I did this. Oh my God, this is," and then they add something to this, and you feel like, dude, we all have the same fucking problem, but we always think we're the only one with the problem. So I think that people should get less stigma for not being perfect, because nobody is, and get rid of this whole, oh, you have to, be successful, like whatever that is. What is failure? Like you don't fail, man. It's just one step. You just learn something for your next step. So, and again, sounds spiritual or like, weird, but it's what it is. So if people would just, specifically in Germany, man, like this whole failure culture that we don't have, like, oh, you failed because you didn't, get this and this done.
Yeah, you
man,
only get one try.
But I tried, like I tried and it didn't work. So guess what? I'm going to try again differently and maybe it works. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to try again. And then it's a question of how often can you get back up? But that's so long. See, I'm wondering with my mind, but I feel that, asking the right questions, helping people reassess their perspective. I think that's what it comes down to. It. I love it. I really got to tell you, I love this.
Yeah, I want to talk more to you about this. We already like kind of scratched it one time, but yeah, this is really inspiring, and I wanted to kind of reply to your where you asked me like in passing, like, I don't know what you think about the term coach, and then you said you feel like you don't have much to offer, but you just answered it, right? Like, you have you to offer, and in you lies, how should I say that? Like,
the wisdom of the earth.
Yeah, that's actually what I want to say. Like, kind of an infinite potential, and your experiences are, let's say limited. They're not. You didn't make infinite experiences, but then the depth of the experience and the similarity. There aren't infinite experiences on the planet. Actually, humans tend to run into the same problems, I feel like, which is what you just said. And, well, I just want to say many people need to have questions asked, because many people never learn to do it for themselves. And many people only have people around them that tell them shit, teachers, parents, whatever. And like, that's what I'm here too. Like, I fell in love with the question. What question? Doesn't matter. Any question is good. You ask somebody a question, a real question with genuine curiosity, they tell you, here we go, their whole life, and I think that's beautiful. Like, for me as a lover of people, that's like, man, come on, that's all I need. I'm so on your napkin. Yeah, that's what used to be on my laptop, right?
That's what I know. I remember this.
People.
That's how we talked about when you for the first time mentioned that you're gonna do a podcast.
Yeah,
gonna do. Now you did it.
Yeah.
And do you remember? And I'm sidetracking you now. And
Sure.
I interrupted you. That's what I do all the time.
Sure.
That's one of my bad habits.
Sure.
Do you still remember what you talked about? How people get shaped because they fly through these holes, and then there's another one, and like, you should explain that again, because that's something I wrote down and I still have the picture that I drew based on your conversation.
Should I explain it now?
Yeah, do it now. Like, I think it's valuable.
I think it's, I can tie it to our conversation. I said to you, you told me about your work now with Sports Business Journal, and I said, oh, you're young again, and I can see that in what you're telling me. You're like, oh, you're excited, right? I have these people around me. And then the story when I was in London, you were at Fnatic. We were both young again. I was quite young. You were almost young, but you were like, wow, your childhood, like, so it kind of flashed before your eyes, and real, like, people that you kind of had only this distant touch with came into your life, and magic, and so these are the phases that, and you mentioned just this German culture. We do this thing like apprenticeship, like school, and then apprenticeship or like uni or whatever, and then you get a job, and then you won the game, right? And then you follow the job until you're an old fuck, and then you get your retirement, and hopefully you have kids along the way. Beautiful life, nothing wrong with that. Life is life. But it's only one life, and the reality that I believe is you can live many lives, not infinite, and you can be anything kind of, but not everything. So there's a, you have to get good at shit. But so this shaping process, which we have institutionalized with uni, and with job and blah blah blah, you can repeat that. You just have to either learn something new, but in my opinion, you really have to like quit a job, like quit an episode and start from scratch. And that's the beginner mind. And then you see everything with fresh eyes and you feel uncertainty again. And it's actually so important to feel uncertainty because like you have to get out of comfort, you know, you have to go and just tackle something new. It invigorates you, it rejuvenates you, and it literally makes you young again. And so I always compare it, that's what Chris said, to like Flappy Bird, you know, you have this little niche or something that you have to get through, and you start at this as this big thing. And so you turn small, you turn like pointy, and then you can get through. Like you sharpen a pencil or something. But you have to, and then you stay sharp for that time period. And it's very useful because people need sharp tools and people need to be sharp, and you don't have to lose that, but you have to find a new area in which you're dull, like not sharp yet, and you're open and you're like infinite potential, and then you have to go through such a thing again. And you can do that every 7 years, every 10 years, if you're committed to that. And I think that's a life well lived if you manage to do that.
Nice.
That's what I want people to realize. I want people to do that. Quit your goddamn jobs. Stop annoying all the people around you. Sorry?
And if you hate it, and if you can.
Yeah, of course. You know, and save your money so you can, you know, this is not a fucking like do whatever, fuck everything exercise. This is a very diligent, you know, you have to save your money and you have to know that this is a possibility, and don't spend your money on stupid shit, and like think about all the many lives you can live. And I think, well, this is infinity to talk about, and so much, you know, how to deal with the uncertainty and so on. We can talk about this another time, but I mean,
be open and keep learning. I think that's, you know, and if you feel unhappy, learn something new.
For sure. So thank you for asking me that question.
You're welcome.
So I can tell the story, and that's where we were. And I think that's what we need, more questions. And so I'm glad, you know, we can do this here, and I'm glad you do this too with people. You get people on a podcast. You're a question asker, and I think the coach term is overused too. Just to get back to that, but I have more and more, and I always feel stupid because everybody's calling themselves that, but more and more I feel like it's so important that, you know, like I listened to this podcast, Against the Rules by, forgot his name. It's a green cover on Spotify. Against the Rules. It's by Pushkin Industries. And it's this guy who talks about all sorts of coaches in different stories. It's excellently made. Michael Lewis. And it's like this unfair advantage. Every athlete has like 10 coaches. Why don't normal people have that? Like, because it means if you have 10 coaches, you know how it is to train with a coach and without. Like, it's a world of difference. You can just follow a coach in training, and you just have your muscular ability that stops you, not the mental shit. And they just pull you through. And what if you have, for the most important things in your life, you have that? Then you can focus on your actual work so much better because you're not getting sidetracked by all this shit. So I think the world needs more and more coaches. That's why it's becoming so popular now. Don't know what you
Interesting. Reminds me of a book that's How Will You Measure Your Life? And it's about, so it's basically not for MBAs, but you know, we got it as a recommendation after the MBA, and it's basically about how to be successful in your career, in your personal life, and how to stay out of jail. And the last is really because, you know, the latter is because people tend to do crazy shit when they can. So, you know, stay cool, chill the fuck out, like don't become an asshole, don't cheat the system. But like the fun aspect, I can really recommend the book. Like one of the discussion points is, why do you have performance dialogues, performance talks, all that kind of shit for your business life, right? Like you do this, you set objectives, all that stuff. But people rarely do this for their private lives.
Yeah.
So it's about how will you measure your life? And I mean, that's the title. It makes sense. It's like, so what makes you happy? We're back to what makes you happy. And why don't you set objectives for your private life? And I'm not talking about, oh yeah, I need to have this or this by then, but it's really, how do you know if you're still on track? And why is it so easy for us to do that in our jobs, but not in our private lives to be happy? Yeah, good read. Can 10 out of 10 recommend the book.
You gave it to me once. I haven't read it.
I did? See,
Yeah.
I even gave it to you.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. See, dude, and you didn't even read it.
I didn't even read it because I started it. Well, no, actually, fuck what I think.
Wow.
I just want to let your... I think I just get distracted. I always read a couple books at a time, but I just want to... I was hoping to get to your book recommendations, and I just want to underline that because I know it's your big book. So who would you recommend this to? Like everybody?
Everyone. But I mean, it helps if you have an understanding of business because they touch they touch a couple of examples, for business life. And so it's if you have an interest in business, like, you can definitely read it.
Do you have any further book recommendations that you would like to give?
But I need to look up the titles. I mean, what was it? How to break habits or something? Like, what's the habit? How can you break it? Like, how do you get into habits? How can you train yourself to get out of habits and create new habits? Then there's...
is this the one, The Power of Habit?
Power of Habit. That's the one. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, good one. By Charles Duhigg, I believe. And
then I had like, it's more the business reads recently for me. So Radical Focus is really good. I'm currently reading Hooked. How do you hook people in kind of products? Like, that's a really good one. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think it is, right? Like, see, that's a good one. So it's mainly kind of business and performance, like self-performance books for me recently. Then I think there is this one, I read it in German, so whatever the English title is, it's Die Entscheidung liegt bei dir. So it's basically a book talking about how I don't have time is bullshit, because you need to say, hey, other things are more important to me, because you have a limited resource of time. So what you got to do is, you got to deal with your time in a way that whatever's your priority gets allocated more time, right? So if I tell you, hey, Simon, I can't come to your show because I don't have time, that's bullshit. What I should say is, hey, I can't come to your show because it's more important to me to hang out and watch football or something. And that's fair, that's fine. But the one thing is, you just push something away. The other thing is, you make a conscious decision. And if you get aware of what your priority is and why certain things are more important, it's basically, in a nutshell, you can do whatever you want. You can get naked right now and dance on your couch behind you, or you cannot do this because it's more important to you to not look like an idiot, maybe, or not go full crazy.
I've been thinking about it, but it was just not my priority today.
Yeah, but that's how it's just about other stuff is more important to you.
Exactly.
And if you rank importance, and you can be honest with this, like, I had a friend, I love it when I say, hey, I'm in town, you want to meet? And then I get like, oh, I don't have time because, like, not I don't have time, but hey, I'd love to meet, but this is more important to me, so I don't have time left. So and I felt like, that's awesome. I can deal with that. Yeah. That's cool, that's honest. And I can definitely deal with this, because it's better than, oh, let's see, and then it's not gonna happen.
Straight. I love that too. We talked about that. I wanted to ask you about one more thing.
Good.
You have you have made one. How do I say this? You bought a toy one time, and it's a very nice car. And I love cars.
Are we going there? Like, are we really going there?
Yeah, totally, man.
Yeah.
I love cars, and I just want, because we talked about work all the time, and I want to finish this off on a very free lifestyle note. And I don't know, is that something? You have a dope car. When I was a kid, you look at Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all that stuff. But like, for the recent years, and we're talking like 2008, 2009,
Like I always wanted to have an Evo, like the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, like like the 10, right? I always wanted to have an Evo, and when I had the opportunity to get it, I got it. And luckily, I don't drive it enough in Berlin because it's you don't have to drive a car in Berlin, so I use it to go out of Berlin. So that's why I can afford the gas because I'm not driving it too much, kind of. But yeah, that's also for me, it's an opportunity used. And I can use it as an analogy for other stuff too, because I know it's going to go away at one point. I know it's gonna break at one point. But when it breaks, I want to have the feeling that I really used it. So we did I have a friend who drives an Evo 2. I have a friend who drives a Skyline. So we all met, and we had this. I don't know, man. We had this kind of restricted area gravel, and we just drifted over it. Like we did all the crazy shit we wanted to do. We had a lot of stones hitting the cars, so you got we really used the cars. And I was really thinking about, hey, am I getting mad right now because I used the car? But no, I'm not. There's a dent. Yeah, it's a battle scar. It's fine. It has to be there. And I use that as an analogy for all the other stuff, right? I know it's going to go away, but when it's gone, I want to have used it. I want to create experiences. I want to have memories. And buying the thing to me is also an experience and a memory. If I sell it tomorrow because I feel I don't know, I'm not working with the environment, it's not working with my attitude, whatever it is, right? If I sell it, I at least know I had it because I kind of worked for it and I was able to get it. It's weird, but that to me is it's a thing where I felt like you can get anything you want to get. Like go and get it, work for it, kind of. And when I told people, and that's funny because when I told people or when people notice that I have it, I'm like, oh man, you're talking about this for 10 years. Like, yeah, I know. Like, it's like, oh, you always wanted to have that thing. Like, yeah, I know. Like, so it's like,
Yeah.
it's
It's
really
real.
like this. It's really like this dream come true in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love driving it. Like, it's the one thing that, it's parked in the garage. I go in there, I see it, I smile. And I never had that connection with a car. Like, I mean, a car is something to use, right? But when I see the thing, I'm happy. And that's really weird because I have this really weird connection to this vehicle. But man, I have fun with it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's what I wanted to hear. I think it's so cool. And I remember we met outside your office that one time when you were, I think you just bought it or you were in the process of I believe you were in the process of buying it. And I bought a car too, not an Evo, unfortunately, but I bought made a very frugal car choice. But I was so much like, oh man, I don't know, it's so much money at once, and the money is there, but what, is it even moral? And then you were like, do you want a car? And I'm like, yeah, man, like I love driving. And I really want to go to my family in my car and like pack a bunch of shit because I'm lazy and I'm not a like super lean Bali traveler with 3 kilos in my backpack. No, like I want to pack my girl and my shit and just, go somewhere and like take people with me and help people move and shit like that. And you were like, what are you, just buy a fucking car. Like, just do it. Like, you will never, I think you said something like, you will pay the money and you will never think about that money. Because it will be in something that improves your life dramatically. And I think you really pushed me off the edge.
I said that. Wow, that sounds pretty smart though.
Yeah, I think you said that, and I think that's how you felt at the time. And I'm so happy for you that you did that because it's super cool. And I really want to drive with you sometime. Maybe even drive it if I'm allowed. But I love it. I know.
The experiences, and like nobody's gonna take away experiences and memories. So that's the same thing with vacationing. Like if you can and you really want to go on vacation, like I mean, save as much as you have to. But if you really want to do something, go for it. Because it's like, and the thing is, yeah, I like money, 100%. I do like money, but it does not buy you all the cool shit that you can. Like, I mean, it does buy you the experiences, yes, but if you hoard the money somewhere, like it's not gonna give you as much satisfaction as going to places, seeing things, like doing things you really enjoy. And I've become really experiential. I really want to experience stuff. Like, I like to travel. I like to take my camera around. I really like to take pictures. I like to see things, experience things, meet people. And, that's a good use for money. That's good. That's better than hoarding all the money on your bank account. Because, that's probably a really nice word to end, or like say hello to the end. It's like, what is it? Like the last shirt. There's no bags on the last shirt or something. Das letzte Hemd hat keine Taschen. So you can't take, when you're gone, you can't take your money with you.
Yeah.
But you can live a life worth living. I think that's kind of the moral of the story.
I love that. And I would love to end on that. Thank you, man. Good talk.
Thank you. Good. Yeah, good talk. That's what the show is called, is it?
Yeah, that's what the show is. Yeah.
Good talk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being you. And last question: where can people find you? Where should people check out either what you do and what your personal profiles?
Twitter, I guess. Herr Hana everywhere on all channels. And then just reach out, say hi.
So that's the German Mr. Hana. So that's
That's the German Mr. Hana.
HERRHANA.
Yes.
And
but your link that's in some bio, I guess.
Yeah, I will. But
Shameless
for the audio
plug.
Listeners, yeah, for
Nice.
sure. All right, man. Have a wonderful evening, and
you too.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Hey there, Simon again here. Just a quick one before you go. Hope you enjoyed the episode with Chris Hana. I had a lot of fun recording with him, and I thought it was quite a good talk. What did you think? Please let me know in the comments what inspired you. Feel free to use a timestamp, link to a spot. If you found a good quote, I'm also always looking for highlights, and I want to know what resonated with you. So I'm reading everything. Please share. And if you thought, if you're here, you probably listened through it. So if you thought this was a good talk and worth your time, then I hope to see you again soon. And in that sense, please feel free to subscribe to the channel you're listening on. Could be YouTube, could be podcast. So we can hear from each other again, and you're notified when I release my next episode or something else. Also, feel free to leave a rating if you're listening on iTunes. You know how it goes. Just all the good interactive stuff that tells the platform that this is a cool guy and people are interacting with this. You know how the game works. Now, feel free to go. You've been here long enough. See you next time, and thanks for listening.